having these three speakers with us today who are going to be talking on various aspects. Uh, the onset of the winter season heralds a certain kind of problems for many people, and so we are going to have with us Dr. Anupriya Punia, who is going to talk about seasonal affective disorder, or SAD as it is appropriately called. We also have with us Dr. Anita Das, who's going to share with us the role of a caregiver. And we have just been joined by Advocate Joy Talukdar. So thank you very much for joining us all today. And Dr. Advocate Talukdar is going to speak to us about his own struggles with this particular aspect of mental health, and it takes a lot of gumption, a lot of courage to be actually talking about something like this on a public forum. So let me just take a couple of minutes to introduce all three of our speakers, and of course we have with us a lot of our founder members of and our friends and supporters of the Proud Depressive movement. I would like to welcome each of you over here. And we have with us Archana Verma ma'am. Hello ma'am. She is currently posted as Principal Secretary in the government of Assam, and so to say the brains behind this particular movement, I should say. We have with us Dr. Lisa Pathak, who has also played a very vital role in this entire movement, and has helped us in holding this particular session. She had also been the speaker about in one of the previous sessions, wherein she had spoken about her own struggles with mental health, and life deals various kinds of cards to each of us. So ma'am is also there, and we have Dr. Day, Dr. Vikramjit Day, who had spoken to us last time about his own struggles with mental health. So we welcome you once again, sir. And of course, our IT is being headed by Ms. Sejal Pujara, who does all the good work for us behind the scenes. So thank you very much, Sejal. I will now just like to introduce each of the panelists for today, one by one. We have with us Dr. Anupriya Punia, who is part of the Haryana Education Services, and she is currently posted in Sonpeat, Haryana. By choice, she has taken up a rural posting, and she is working in a small village in Murthal in Sonpeat district of Haryana, just at the border of Delhi, I would say, about 20 kilometers from where the farmers are sitting. Yes, Lisa ma'am has just joined us. So, and Dr. Punia has a lot of research interests, and she has worked as a practitioner in the past before joining academics, and she is going to be sharing her perspective, and she was also the lead speaker for our first session. So in a way, we are kind of moving 360 degrees, and we are back to her today. So thank you very much for joining us once again, Dr. Punia. And before I invite you to the floor, I will just like to speak a little bit about our other two panelists. And even though it is 8:30 in the evening on Sunday, Mr. Talukdar has been kind enough to join us. He has over 10 years of litigation experience in the courts of law. He specializes in civil laws, motor accidents, debt recovery, workman compensation, etc. And he has got his BCom, and then he's got his LLB from West Bengal National University of Judicial Sciences, Calcutta, and he's an expert in Australian administrative laws and legal systems in that country. So he's registered to work in practice in Australia. So he joins us today from Brisbane, and thank you very much, sir, for taking time out. Our third speaker, who's also here, is Dr. Anita Das, and Madam Das is a dental surgeon in the Government Dental College in Agartala, Tripura, and she is taking care of her son who suffers from a disorder. I would say, I would not even say condition, because that is a politically incorrect kind of a word to say. We invite you, ma'am, to share your thoughts. So the way that we have planned to structure this kind of a debate is, it is going to be a freewheeling conversation. I don't know if any of the speakers will choose to, I don't know if Dr. Punia chooses to make a presentation or not, but either way, the choice is theirs. More of a conversational style. So we will first have Dr. Punia, and we will request you, ma'am, to speak to us for about 30 minutes, if that's okay. And then we will have Mr. Talukdar, who would, of course, I understand, sir, it takes a lot of courage and a lot of self-willing to come and, talk about these things on a forum like that. So if you're okay with it, around 20 minutes, sir, for you. And if you need more time, that's perfectly okay as well. And then we would, of course, request Madam Anita Das to speak about the challenges, because that's a very interesting perspective. And we would like to thank Archana Verma, ma'am, for this, because she is the one who said that we should have a section wherein we involve a caregiver also, because it is not just affecting the individual, but it also affects the family. And immediately the speaker was identified by Lisa, ma'am. And so thank you very much, Lisa, ma'am, for coordinating all of this behind the scenes. So that's because it takes a lot of many a times mental health becomes something about the entire family, and that's why people say that it is a collective effort by the entire family. By the caregiver's role is very important. I wish Anu will also talk a little bit about the caregiver's role during the course of her presentation. So then we would request ma'am to speak about that, maybe about 10-15 minutes. And then since we usually have a lot of questions, so we would like to keep about 20 to 30 minutes for questions, interjections, etc. So that is how we plan to structure this. However, nothing is cast in stone, and we can deviate a bit here and there if the situation demands. So with these words, I would request Dr. Punia to please take the floor and address us on the whole issue about seasonal affective disorder. Why does it take place? How can we prevent it? And so on and so forth. Because winter does create serious problems for us in India, especially in North India. And not taking anything away from ma'am's presentation, see, in London, I have personally seen that in winter they have a host of mental problems. That's because the extremes are very large. In summer they have the daylight up to midnight. I have personally had dinner by drawing the curtains and switching on the light, because it is bright and sunny even at 10 o'clock at night. And in winter at 4:30 it is gloomy. So 4:30 p.m. it is absolutely gloomy in London. So that's why they have a lot of these problems. So with these words, Dr. Punia, the floor is all yours, please. And I hope, Sejal ma'am, you are recording the session so that we can have it up on our videos and websites later on.
Yes, I'm recording.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, Dr. Punia, please.
Hi, good evening. And today I am very pleased to be back as a mental health expert. And like Dr. Sirohi mentioned that I was the mental health speaker in the inaugural session, and we have indeed come all the way down. So, we're back to the circle is complete, so as to speak. And I'm hoping that this movement that has been started, I think it's gaining a lot of traction. And because a lot of good work is going on into it, and it is spreading a lot of awareness. So without further ado, I would like to get on with my presentation today. And yes, I have a PPT because I've realized that once you format it in the form of a PPT, it's easier for all of us to, maybe focus as well as remember. And I'd like to not keep it very technical. That hasn't been my style. I'd like to keep it more conversational, because certain things become very technical. And all of you, of course, it's nowadays mental health has become very layman terminology. So all of us are able to comprehend it, but still I'd like to, tone it down a bit so that, we actually get to what we want to focus on. So, all right. So I have the topic that I have chosen today is why am I sad? Mood swings and the impact of seasons. Now, I have particularly picked up this topic. It's because our movement is called the proud depressives, depressives being the keyword. Of course, we engulf all sorts of mental health issues, but a lot of studies have gone on in terms of depression, and this is something that SAD, which is an acronym, right? SAD stands for seasonal affective disorder. So now the reason that we are focused on this particular topic is because it becomes even more difficult for people who are already suffering from one or the other form of depression. It could be unipolar, it could be bipolar. So what exactly is sad? So क्या होता है? हम लोग बहुत कॉमन भाषा में हम कहते हैं विंटर ब्लूज हो गए, right? Winter is associated with feeling low and everything that is maybe geographical. It could be anything, but if you see, it invariably ties down. For example, when we are talking about SAD, seasonal affective disorder, it is also a type of depression. लेकिन ये जो है सीजन से चेंज में जो चेंज होता है फ्रॉम वन सीजन टू अनदर उसके ऊपर डिपेंडेंट होती है एंड इट इज ऑलमोस्ट फिक्स्ड एवरी ईयर समबडी हु सफर्स फ्रॉम दिस एंड अभी तक अगर उसके बारे में फॉर्मली नहीं पता हो तो एक्चुअली यही होता है कि ये एक ही टाइम पे शुरू होती है और हर साल एक ही समय पे ये खत्म भी होती है बिकॉज सीजन जैसे जैसे चेंज होता है उसी के ऊपर ही डिपेंडेंट होती है. तो मोस्टली जो लोग होते हैं उनको विंटर्स में ये फील होती है कि जैसे ही ऑनसेट ऑफ जैसे ही हमारा फॉल सीजन आता है एंड वी मूव इनटू विंटर्स पर से यू स्टार्ट फीलिंग द सिम्टम्स एंड एज विंटर कीप्स इंक्रीजिंग जो आपके सिम्टम्स हैं वो और ज्यादा सीवियर होते जाते हैं. लेकिन इन केस ऑफ बाइपोलैरिटी यानी कि जिन लोगों को बाइपोलर काइंड ऑफ डिप्रेशन होता है जिसमें मेनिक और डिप्रेसिव दोनों फेज होता है उनमें कभी कभार समर्स जब स्टार्ट हो रही होती हैं सो दे टेंड टू गो इनटू अ मेनिक और एटलीस्ट अ हाइपोमेनिक फेज. तो जब हमारा जो डिप्रेशन है जो मूड स्विंग्स हैं वो किसी टाइप की चीजों से इफेक्टेड होते हैं दैट इज व्हेन वी एक्चुअली टर्म इट एज अ सीजनल अफेक्टिव डिसऑर्डर. Dr. Sirohi, is it just me or there is disturbance?
No, you're absolutely fine, Dr.
Yeah, because on my end I can hear a disturbance, so I just wanted to check.
Okay. I think just mute myself. I think that will be the best.
Yeah. Okay, so अब हम इन चीजों पे आते हैं कि क्या कॉमन सिम्टम्स हैं. देखिए बहुत सी मेंटल डिसऑर्डर्स खासकर जो एक कैटेगरी में आती है राइट जितने भी मूड डिसऑर्डर्स होते हैं जो आपके मूड को अफेक्ट करते हैं उसमें बहुत सारे सिम्टम्स जो हैं कॉमन होते हैं. इट इज ओनली जब हम एक DSM-4 जो कि बेसिक टेक्स्ट बुक है ठीक है डायग्नोस्टिक स्टैटिस्टिकल मैनुअल ऑफ मेंटल डिसऑर्डर्स है हम उसके अंदर जाके अपने जब सिम्टम्स जो आपके मेंटल हेल्थ प्रोफेशनल हैं वो आपके सिम्टम्स को डिलिनेट करके एंड देन वो डायग्नोसिस देते हैं कि एग्जैक्टली व्हाट काइंड ऑफ मूड डिसऑर्डर यू आर सफरिंग फ्रॉम. तो अभी जो हम सिम्टम्स की बात करेंगे यू आर गोइंग टू लाइकली फील अगर आपको किसी तरीके का मूड डिसऑर्डर है वेदर इट इज माइल्ड और सिवियर और यू हैव एक्सपीरियंस्ड इट आपको ऑलमोस्ट सिमिलर सिम्टम्स लगेंगे. लेकिन यहाँ पे की जो है जो हमें याद रखना जरूरी है कि जब हम सैड की बात करें इट इज सीजनल. जैसा कि मैंने बताया इट स्टार्ट्स एवरी ईयर एट द सेम टाइम एंड इट विल आल्सो एंड एट द सेम टाइम. लेकिन हम इसको इस चीज को ये नहीं लेके कह सकते कि चलो अभी विंटर्स खत्म हो जाएंगे तो ठीक है बिकॉज लाइक एनी फॉर्म ऑफ डिप्रेशन इफ द सिम्टम्स आर लेफ्ट अनट्रीटेड दिस बिकम्स ऑलमोस्ट डिबिलिटेटिंग. जो व्यक्ति है उसको अपनी रोजमर्रा की लाइफ के काम करने भी मुश्किल हो जाते हैं. सो इफ वी सी जनरल क्या होता है जब हम SAD की बात करते हैं आपके मूड में डिस्टर्बेंसेस आने शुरू हो जाते हैं. सी इफ इट इज विंटर देन यू टेंड टू गेट वेरी लेथार्जिक एंड यू आर लो एंड आपको बिल्कुल बॉडी एक्टिविटी करने में भी एफर्ट लगता है. यू डोंट वांट टू गो आउट यू डोंट वांट टू मीट पीपल यू डोंट वांट टू सोशलाइज. सिमिलरली जब समर SAD होता है तो आप में एजिटेशन ज्यादा होती है. यू टेंड टू गेट वेरी वेरी वॉलेटाइल डिपेंडिंग अपॉन कि मेनिया की क्या सिवियरिटी है एंड आपको सीजन कितना ज्यादा इफेक्ट हो रहा है। इनिशियली ये माना जाता था कि जो कंट्रीज हैं जिसमें जैसे हम लोग इक्वेटर के उतना ज्यादा वो नहीं है, लाइक वी आर नॉट अ कोल्ड कंट्री, ठीक है। इनिशियल जो हमारा डेटा है वो ये कहता था कि नहीं, सिर्फ बहुत ज्यादा ठंडी कंट्रीज में ऐसा होता है, बट नाउ रीसेंट डेटा शोज दैट एनीबडी कैन बी अफ्लिक्टेड बाय दिस डिसऑर्डर। तो किसी को भी इन द सेंसेस, इवन इन इंडिया हमारी विंटर्स को हम लोग से लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल लंदन की विंटर्स से नहीं हम लोग कंपेयर कर सकते, लेकिन जब हमारे यहाँ सर्दी होती है जेनेटिकली हम लोगों के लिए, तो जो यहाँ के इंडिजीनियस नेटिव्स हैं हमारे लिए तो ठंड जो है वो उतनी ही होती है। या जब गर्मी होती है, ग्लोबल चेंजेस लगा लीजिए, या आप हमारी लोकेशन, हमारे जेनेटिक्स कुछ भी लगा लीजिए, जब गर्मी होती है तो बहुत ज्यादा गर्मी होती है एंड दैट डज अफेक्ट अस। लेकिन नॉर्मली हम क्या करते हैं, जैसे गर्मी में इरिटेबिलिटी होती है, आई एम नॉट सेइंग, सी इरिटेबिलिटी कॉमन चीज है, व्हेन यू आर अनकंफर्टेबल इन योर बॉडी यू आर गोइंग टू बी इरिटेबल। लेकिन इसको हम एक इशू तब मानेंगे जब ये एक बहुत लंबे समय के लिए स्टेबल तरीके से चल रहा है और आपकी लाइफ को इफेक्ट कर रहा है, आपकी बेसिक फंक्शनैलिटी को इफेक्ट कर रहा है, राइट। सो कॉमनली क्या होता है कि या तो आप सारे दिन या मैक्सिमम दिन डिप्रेस फील करते हैं, ठीक है, योर एनर्जी बिकम्स वेरी लो। नाउ यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड कि हम दो बाइपोलैरिटीज की बात कर रहे हैं अभी। हम लोग मोस्टली विंटर ऐसे भी जो है वो ज्यादा कॉमन है, लेकिन जिन लोगों में बाइपोलैरिटी है उनमें समर के टाइम पे भी हो सकता है। आपकी स्लीप प्रॉब्लम्स होंगी, सर्दियों में आपको ज्यादा नींद आएगी, राइट, इफ यू आर अफ्लिक्टेड विद दिस। एंड गर्मियों में इंसोम्निया जैसी फीलिंग आती है, आप चाह के भी नहीं सो पाते बिकॉज आपका बॉडी इतना ज्यादा राइज हो चुका होता है, जो इंटरनल सिस्टम है वो इतना ज्यादा पीक कर जाता है दैट द बॉडी डज नॉट हैव कंफर्ट इनफ टू रिलैक्स इनफ टू गो टू स्लीप। आपके एपेटाइट में बहुत चेंज हो जाता है। विंटर्स में यू टेंड टू ईट मोर, आपकी बॉडी कार्बोहाइड्रेट्स क्रेव करना शुरू कर देती है। समर्स के अंदर योर एपेटाइट कंप्लीटली गोज फॉर अ टॉस, यू डोंट फील लाइक ईटिंग एट ऑल। सो सिमिलरली विंटर्स में अगर आप देखें, इफ यू आर अफ्लिक्टेड, आपका जो कार्बोहाइड्रेट्स की क्रेविंग इतना ज्यादा होती है दैट यू टेंड टू गेन वेट। समर्स के अंदर क्योंकि बिल्कुल एपेटाइट फेल हो जाती है, यू टेंड टू ड्रॉप वेट, significant weight loss, right? Difficulty in concentrating, आप चाह के भी किसी चीज पे फोकस नहीं कर पाते हैं because your body is a constant state of flux। आपके बॉडी में एक गिवन पॉइंट इन टाइम पे इतने ज्यादा केमिकल चेंजेस हो रहे हैं that you cannot focus, right? या तो आपको कॉन्स्टेंटली अगर विंटर्स है तो you're constantly feeling कि I am guilty, I am hopeless and मेरा कुछ नहीं हो सकता। And the problem is societally, since हम लोग this entire movement is about spreading awareness, societally we are made to feel guilty about what we feel. The point is you cannot help feeling what you are feeling, so there is no requirement for guilt, but we are made to feel guilty about everything. So because वो feeling of guilt है, वो feeling of hopelessness and being worthless, they are all tied together, right? And बहुत ज्यादा frequent ideation of death and suicide होती है। Now this is one point which I will discuss more thoroughly by the end of the presentation, but these are the general common symptoms you are likely to find किसी ऐसे व्यक्ति में जिसको sad से affliction है। Like I said, there are seasonal differences। जब winter होता है, आप carbohydrates, see commonly भी आप बताइए, आप लोग जो मीठा खाते हैं, say suppose सबसे common है नॉर्थ वेस्ट में पिन्नी या आपके गूंद के लड्डू जो बनते हैं। आई एम फ्रॉम हरियाणा, सो गूंद के लड्डू इज समथिंग दैट इज वेरी कॉमन हियर। ये विंटर्स में ही बनते हैं। एक, ऑफकोर्स इनकी तासीर गर्म होती है, दूसरा योर बॉडी वांट्स इंस्टेंट शुगर बिकॉज इंस्टेंट शुगर रेजेस द इनर फ्लक्स ऑफ द बॉडी। ईटिंग अ चॉकलेट इज एक्चुअली, कोको फॉर दैट मैटर, द मेन इंग्रेडिएंट ऑफ अ चॉकलेट इज अ नेचुरल एंटी डिप्रेसेंट। ऑफकोर्स हमारे में तो शुगर कंटेंट इतना ज्यादा होता है, बट दैट कोको इज इन इटसेल्फ एन एंटी डिप्रेसेंट। तो ये खाना जो आप चीनी क्रेव करते हैं या आप मीठा क्रेव करते हैं, गर्मियों में आप उतना ज्यादा नहीं करते जितना विंटर्स में करते हैं, बिकॉज सीजन्स अफेक्ट तो सभी को करते हैं, ठीक है। आपका जो बॉडी केमिस्ट्री है दैट डज गेट अफेक्टेड नॉट जस्ट बाय द ज्योग्राफिकल लोकेशन वेयर यू आर इन, also by the season that is changing, but it is more prominently seen in people who have some or the other sort of mental health issues, right? Just like कि किसी को अगर कोई physical problem है, उसको किसी पर्टिकुलर चीज से ज्यादा इफेक्ट होता है. सिमिलरली जिनको मेंटल हेल्थ इश्यूज होते हैं, दे गो थ्रू मोर सिवियर फॉर्म ऑफ थिंग्स दैट पीपल माइट टेक इट फॉर ग्रांटेड कि हाँ चलो ये तो होता ही है. विद देम इट इज समथिंग दैट दे कैन नॉट कंट्रोल इवन इफ दे वांट टू. Right? And like I said, appetite change होता है. You are craving carbohydrates because आपका body feels it has no energy at all. It has you need that constant something that is going to boost your system. You tend to eat more, you gain weight. The more weight you gain, the more lethargic you get. The more lethargic, जितना energy कम होगा, उतना you do not want to socialize, and that vicious cycle never ends. This happens in the winter SAD. In the summer SAD, it's completely opposite. आपका energy, too much energy in the body. You are constantly agitated and you constantly volatile. It takes very less to trigger you. नींद आना बंद हो जाता है. आपका इतना कांस्टेंट एजिटेशन रहता है. जिनको बाइपोलैरिटी का इशू है या दे हैव रेड अबाउट इट, दे विल नो कि मेनिक फेज में बॉडी इज कॉन्स्टेंटली ऑन द हाई, राइट. तो बहुत ज्यादा आपका इतना एनर्जी रहता है दैट यू सडनली लूज एपेटाइट. एनर्जी खर्च हो रहा है बट एपेटाइट नहीं है, तो लॉस ऑफ एनर्जी तो फील होगा बाय द एंड ऑफ द डे. वेट लॉस होता है एंड उसके कारण योर एंजाइटी इज लाइक इट्स ऑफ द रॉक्स, राइट. तो ये जो स्प्रिंग समर है वो स्प्रिंग में शुरू होकर टुवर्ड्स द समर मंथ्स जाता है, बट बाय द टाइम समर एंड्स वो खत्म हो जाता है. बट द ओनली प्रॉब्लम इज जैसे ही समर खत्म होता है फॉल सीजन आ जाता है. रेन्स हैं बट रेन्स भी अपने इंटरमिटेंट रेन्स होते हैं, ठीक है. सो दिस इज समथिंग दैट कीप्स ऑन. इट्स लाइक अ साइकिल. समबडी हु सफरिंग फ्रॉम बोथ ऑफ दीज will be constantly in that state of being एक खत्म होते ही दूसरा सेशन लाइक स्टार्ट्स. ओके, सो वैसे तो सी सैड के कोई स्पेसिफिक कारण हम लोग अभी तक नहीं डिटरमाइन कर पाए हैं. वी कैन नॉट से कि कुछ लोग पर्टिकुलरली सैड से अफेक्टेड क्यों होते हैं जबकि दूसरे लोग नहीं होते. नॉट एवरीबडी हु इज सफरिंग फ्रॉम डिप्रेशन विल बी अफेक्टेड बाय सैड. ऐसा नहीं है, कोई हार्ड एंड फास्ट रूल नहीं है. लेकिन जिन लोगों को डिप्रेशन होती है वो लोग ज्यादा वल्नरेबल होते हैं सैड से एफिक्शन के टुवर्ड्स. 3 प्राइमरी कारण सामने आए हैं. एक है आपका बायोलॉजिकल क्लॉक. जैसा कि डॉक्टर सिरोही ने बताया कि व्हेन ही वाज इन लंदन ही हैड टू एक्चुअली ड्रॉ द कर्टन, राइट, बिकॉज व्हेन यू आर स्लीपिंग, राइट, योर सर्काडियन रिदम इज योर स्लीप साइकिल. आपका स्लीप साइकिल द अमाउंट ऑफ डेलाइट से बहुत इफेक्टेड है, ठीक है. जैसे जैसे आपका जैसे जैसे सनडाउन होता जाता है, अंधेरा होता जाता है, योर बॉडी गेट्स इनटू दैट रेस्टिंग मोड एंड बाय द टाइम इट इज इट्स डार्क आउटसाइड, योर बॉडी गोज इनटू दैट रेस्ट फेज. लेकिन जहां पे डे एंड नाइट में फर्क हो जाता है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल इवन इन इंडिया, अब धीरे धीरे करते करते आई थिंक 5:30 5:45 इट गेट्स डार्क. नॉर्मली समर्स में बाय 7:30 7:45 देयर इज लाइट. तो ये देखिए, ये 2 घंटे का जो गैप टाइम लैप्स आता है उसके अंदर जल्दी अंधेरा हो जाता है. यू टेंड टू गेट इनटू योर क्विल्ट सूनर बिकॉज इट्स कोल्ड, राइट. सो द अमाउंट ऑफ सनलाइट दैट यू आर रिसीविंग, जितना सनलाइट चाहिए होता है या हमें आदत होती है उतना नहीं होता है. इफ यू गो टू स्लीप अर्ली, आप एक निश्चित रूप की नींद ही लेंगे ना. आप बहुत ज्यादा लंबा भी नहीं सोएंगे. अगर ज्यादा जिस दिन भी आप एक्स्ट्रा सोते हैं, rather than feeling more refreshed and less tired, you are lethargic because your body requires the requisite amount of sleep. हमें नींद क्यों चाहिए? Why do we need to sleep altogether? Because वो टाइम है जब आपका ब्रेन जो है केवल आपकी बॉडी को जिंदा रखने से इतना काम कर रहा है, right? And it is at its lowest activity, so the brain gets rested. So when you wake up in the morning, you're more refreshed. लेकिन विंटर टाइम्स में आपका रात का टाइम ज्यादा हो जाता है, अंधेरा ज्यादा टाइम के लिए रहता है, तो आपका जो स्लीप पैटर्न है उसमें प्रॉब्लम आनी शुरू हो जाती है. सेकेंड इज सेरोटोनिन लेवल. नाउ यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड सेरोटोनिन इज योर हैप्पी हार्मोन. इट्स अ न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर बट इट इज द केमिकल दैट इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल टू मेक यू फील हैप्पी. वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड सब कुछ. इट इज ऑल केमिस्ट्री, राइट. हाउ यू आर परसीविंग एवरीथिंग इज ऑल्सो केमिस्ट्री. आपका ब्रेन जो सेक्रीट करवा रहा है वो आपको महसूस करवा रहा है जो भी आप महसूस करते हैं. ओके, सो योर सेरोटोनिन लेवल, अगर मैं लेमन की भाषा में ये बोलूं, सनलाइट जो है इट इज रिक्वायर्ड फॉर द प्रोडक्शन ऑफ सेरोटोनिन. एंड क्योंकि विंटर्स में सनलाइट की जो ड्यूरेशन है वो कम हो जाती है, तो जितना सनलाइट हमें चाहिए हैप्पी हार्मोन सफिशिएंटली प्रोड्यूस करने के लिए उतना हमें नहीं मिल पाता. एंड hence the winter blues. देन तीसरा जो है मेलाटोनिन, जो कि एक हार्मोन है, pineal gland जो आपके ब्रेन की जो मास्टर ग्लैंड है, दैट सेक्रीट्स और दैट एक्चुअली कंट्रोल्स द सेक्रेशन ऑफ मेलाटोनिन नामक जो हार्मोन है, एंड मेलाटोनिन इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर योर स्लीप एंड मूड. तो कहीं ना कहीं ये जो सनलाइट का जो टाइमिंग है वो कम होता है, वो हमारे को समर्स में यही ज्यादा हो जाता है. ठीक है, जितना ज्यादा सनलाइट है उतना ज्यादा एक्टिविटी हो रही है. ठीक है, वो मेनिक फेज क्या होता है? इट बिगिंस विद हैप्पीनेस, एक्सटेसी एंड देन इनटू द मेनिक फेज. विंटर्स के अंदर क्या है? इट कम्स फ्रॉम आई एम फीलिंग ओके, आई एम फीलिंग लो, टू आई एम फीलिंग सैड, टू आई एम डिप्रेस्ड. So these are two opposite cycles. Both of them are related to somehow the duration of sunlight a human body is receiving. Okay, so ये जो है, these are tentative causes. We don't know for certain. See, I probably said it. This is one of my favorite sayings. So I must have said it before. I'm going to say it again. Human body is a machine. Okay, and every brain is unique. हमें नहीं मालूम है आपके दिमाग को कौन से चाबी लगेगी. हम सब अलग है, हमारे ब्रेन से अलग है, ब्रेन की चाबी अलग है. किस चीज को कौन सा ब्रेन कैसे ले रहा है, क्या इफेक्ट हो रहा है, इट इज कंप्लीटली नॉट इन आवर हैंड्स. एंड सम ब्रेन इज द मोस्ट स्टडीड एंड द लीस्ट अंडरस्टूड ऑर्गन ऑफ द ह्यूमन बॉडी. सबसे ज्यादा पढ़ा जाता है, बट अभी तक हमें सबसे कम नॉलेज भी ब्रेन के बारे में है. राइट, नाउ वी विल मूव ऑन टू क्या रिस्क फैक्टर्स हैं. सैड है, मैंने आपको बता दिया क्या होता है, मैंने आपको उसके सिम्टम्स बता दिए, मैंने ये बता दिया कि क्या पॉसिबल कारण होते हैं. लेकिन अनदर थिंग वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड है कि कौन ज्यादा वल्नरेबल है. सी, इट इज मोर इन विमेन एज कंपेयर्ड टू मेन. राइट, इट इज मोर इन यंगर अडल्ट्स एज कंपेयर्ड टू ओल्डर अडल्ट्स. बिकॉज ओल्डर अडल्ट्स का क्या है, देयर लाइफ बिकम्स वेरी शेड्यूल्ड, एंड उनका वैसे भी ड्यू टू एज दैट एक्टिविटी लेवल बाय डिफॉल्ट gets reduced, which is not the same thing in younger adults. अगर हम लोग एक्चुअली अभी स्टडी करें जो मेंटल हेल्थ क्राइसिस जिसको हम अभी फेस कर रहे हैं ड्यूरिंग द टाइम्स ऑफ कोरोना, इफ वी एक्चुअली स्टडी इट, द यंगर जनरेशन और द मोर द किड्स, एंड अगर ओल्डर जनरेशन से हम कंपेयर करें तो जो बीच वाला एज ग्रुप है, that is likely to show more signs of being mentally affected by this pandemic, क्योंकि लॉकडाउन में that societal thing gets curbed. ठीक है, सब कुछ ही वर्चुअल हो गया है. You don't remember the last time you physically met some people. So risk factor ये है कि हाँ, females को ये ज्यादा इफेक्ट करता है, एंड यंगर अडल्ट में ज्यादा apparent है एज कंपेयर टू ओल्डर अडल्ट. अगर किसी की फैमिली हिस्ट्री में सैड हो, यानी कि आपकी फैमिली में ब्लड लाइन के अंदर किसी को सीजनल अफेक्टिव डिसऑर्डर हो, या फिर किसी टाइप का डिप्रेशन हो, यू बिकम मोर वल्नरेबल टू बी अफेक्टेड बाय दिस. Like I said, having major depression or bipolar, any sort of bipolar, it could be bipolar personality. Of course, personality, जब हम BPD की बात करते हैं, that is very different from bipolar depression. राइट, सो दैट इज वेरी डिफरेंट. लेकिन कोई भी मूड डिसऑर्डर है जिसमें बाइपोलैरिटी है, तो वो लोग ज्यादा जो है इससे इफेक्ट होते हैं, जो लोग इक्वेटर से जितना ज्यादा दूर है. बट ऑफकोर्स दिस इज बेस्ड ऑन वेरी ओल्ड स्टडीज, बिकॉज उसके हिसाब से तो हम लोगों को तो होना ही नहीं चाहिए था, बट हमारे जेनेटिक्स के हिसाब से जब सर्दी होती है तो हमारे लिए बहुत सर्दी हो जाती है. ऑफकोर्स इट विल नॉट बी लाइक द विंटर्स इन लंदन, बट आप अपर हिल्स पे चले जाइए, वहां पे बहुत ज्यादा ठंड होती है. So if I'm like living in northwest and I go to northeast and upper northeast, I'm going to get more affected by it, क्योंकि मेरी बॉडी को उतनी ठंड की आदत नहीं है और उतने कम सनलाइट की भी आदत नहीं है. Right? Then what are the complications? Like any sort of mental health disorder, जब हम लोग सबसे ज्यादा vulnerable होते हैं, we have a tendency to withdraw. ठीक है, हम लोगों को उस समय पे we are very conscious about meeting other people, especially in terms of depression, any form of depression for that matter. हम लोगों में इतना एनर्जी ही नहीं होता कि हम किसी से भी जाके सोशलाइज करें और वी गेट आउट, तो हम और भी अंदर बंद हो जाते हैं. तो जो बची कुची सनलाइट चाहिए होती है, हम उससे भी विड्रॉ कर जाते हैं. देयर इज सोशल विड्रॉल, एंड ऑफ कोर्स अगर बच्चा है तो स्कूल में इश्यूज आएंगे, अदरवाइज अडल्ट है तो वर्क प्लेस पे इश्यूज आएंगे. सोसाइटल इश्यूज बहुत ज्यादा आ जाते हैं. There is a tendency to turn towards substances, alcohol, या कोई भी sort of any sort of medicine which makes you feel that you have forgotten things for a while. जो भी चीज आपकी ब्रेन की या जो आपकी मसल मेमोरीज को इफेक्ट करते हैं, यू एंजॉय डूइंग दैट बिकॉज आपको ये लगता है टेम्पररी सही, एटलीस्ट आई एम फीलिंग समथिंग हाई और लो, लेकिन जो नमनेस है डिप्रेशन के कारण कम से कम फॉर वट एवर टाइम भी वो कम हो रही है. ठीक है, एंग्जाइटी हो जाता है या ईटिंग डिसऑर्डर हो जाता है. समर्स में एंग्जाइटी ज्यादा प्रोन है एंड विंटर्स में यू टेंड टू ईट लाइक अ लॉट बिकॉज यू वांट टू डू समथिंग व्हिच मेक्स द एनर्जी राइज एंड उसके कारण कई बार हमें खुद नहीं पता चलता कि हम एक्चुअली कितना खा रहे हैं, which in turns is again a cycle. You are lethargic, you gain weight, and then you tend to, feel even more horrible. Then of course there is suicidal thoughts and behavior. वो तो ultimately हम इतने परेशान हो जाते हैं and believe me, जिसको है हमें लगता है इस चीज की क्या एंजाइटी, बट जिसको एंजाइटी बेस्ड डिसऑर्डर्स हैं उनके दिमाग में किसी एक ट्रिगर से क्या इफेक्ट हो रहा है वो उनके अलावा और कोई नहीं ना बता सकता ना समझ सकता. They know what it means to be anxious. जिन लोगों को लिफ्ट से डर लगता है केवल वो बता सकते हैं कि वो उस समय पे क्या फील कर रहे होते हैं. So similarly when people are so affected by the change in weather, जो कि बाकी सब लोग को granted ले रहे हैं, that is when you want कि कुछ भी करके इसको खत्म करो. I don't want to feel like this anymore. So I would prefer death. I would prefer to not exist altogether than to exist and feel like this. So these are some of the very very common complications and ये तब होती हैं when we feel कि अरे चलो कोई ना हो जाएगा, this is normal, winter blues है, कोई बात नहीं winter खत्म होते. पर point है कि अभी winter खत्म हुई, अगली winter तो फिर भी आएगी. It's a cycle, it's going to come again. You need to address issues when they become issues. Now what are the treatments? There are certain treatments for it of course. सबसे पहले फोटोथेरेपी जिसको हम लाइट थेरेपी भी कहते हैं. उसमें बेसिकली एक आर्टिफिशियल लाइट का बॉक्स होता है. जब आप पहली बार सुबह उठते हैं तब यू हैव टू, एंड दिस इज ऑफ कोर्स ऑल असिस्टेड, दिस हैज टू बी प्रिस्क्राइब बाय द डॉक्टर बिकॉज जो पहली दो चीजें हैं फोटोथेरेपी हो गई या मेडिकेशन हो गई, दोनों के चांसेस हैं मेनिया ट्रिगर करने के. तो somebody who is already suffering from bipolarity, इसमें कोई भी चीज ऐसी नहीं है कि आप खुद से अपनी मर्जी से कहीं से भी पढ़ के कर लीजिए. You have to understand, just like physical thing, and I think even more than physical ailment, mental ailments में बगैर डॉक्टर की सलाह के, बगैर प्रिस्क्रिप्टिव मेडिकेशन के कुछ भी नहीं करना होता. You do not do anything without that because फायदा तो नहीं करेगी, नुकसान तो बिल्कुल करेगी. लाइक फोटोथेरेपी कहने को ये है कि हमें सिर्फ लाइट के आगे ही तो बैठना है, लेकिन आप लोगों को आई डोंट नो, आई मीन दिस इज जस्ट फॉर योर इंफॉर्मेशन, कई बार जिन लोगों को जिसको आप मिर्गी के दौरे कहते हैं, जो ये कॉन्स्टेंटली चेंजिंग इमेजेस होती है, यू स्टार्ट रैपिडली चेंजिंग इमेजेस, या जो डिस्को लाइट्स होती हैं, somebody who has that problem, उसको ये कॉन्स्टेंटली चेंजिंग लाइट से ट्रिगर हो जाता है. हम लोगों को लगता है वी ऑल हैव फन व्हेन वी गो टू द क्लब अगर वो लाइट्स चेंज हो रही हैं बिकॉज इट काइंड ऑफ मेक्स अस फील लाइक इट्स अ डिस्को एंड देयर इज अ पार्टी गोइंग ऑन, बट somebody who has a problem will get very negatively affected by that. तो फोटोथेरेपी भी unless the doctor is very very aware and knows about any other comorbidity, ठीक है, कि आपको कोई भी और तरीके का इश्यू है, तब तक आपको कोई भी चीज वो प्रिस्क्राइब भी नहीं करेंगे और करनी भी नहीं चाहिए. सेकंड आ जाता है मेडिकेशन लाइक एनी अदर एंटी डिप्रेसेंट्स. इसमें कुछ एक स्पेसिफिक एंटी डिप्रेसेंट्स होती हैं, कुछ जनरलाइज जो एंटी डिप्रेसेंट्स इस्तेमाल करते हैं डॉक्टर्स वो भी प्रिस्क्राइब कर सकते हैं. बट देन अगेन यू हैव टू बी वेरी वेरी श्योर कि चाहे आप कुछ हर्बल भी ले रहे हो, you have to inform your doctor. आप कुछ भी supplements ले रहे हो, nutritional कुछ भी ले रहे हो, anything that is going inside your body, your doctor must be aware. Because नहीं पता चलता कि कोई चीज किस चीज के साथ रिएक्ट कर दे. हमें लगता है completely herbal possibly, लेकिन जो दूसरी मेडिसिन जा रही है वो आपके अंदर वो तो केमिकल है. अब वो जो ऑलरेडी नेचुरल चीज का केमिस्ट्री है एंड जो ये एलोपैथी का केमिस्ट्री, हाउ दे आर गोइंग टू रिएक्ट, nobody knows. So your physician, your doctor, your healthcare taker must be very aware. Then of course there is psychotherapy. Psychotherapy में it is almost similar to psychotherapy for depression, wherein आपको ये पता होना चाहिए कि आपके negative thoughts क्या हैं and how to better manage them. Thoughts खत्म नहीं हो रही, you are just learning to manage them better. Then of course आप avoidance behavior या schedule is very important for any mental health therapy to work. You need to have a schedule. आपका बॉडी को जितना ज्यादा आप ट्रेन करेंगे पर्टिकुलर पैटर्न को फॉलो करने के लिए, इट बिकम्स मोर डिसिप्लिन एंड इट बिकम्स मोर एक्सेप्टिंग ऑफ द थेरेपी. हमें लगता है साइकोथेरेपी सिर्फ बात ही तो कर रहे हैं, बट कई बार इनफैक्ट 99% टाइम्स बात करने से ही बात बनती है. इफ यू डोंट टॉक अबाउट इट, इफ यू आर अवॉइडिंग द इशू, दैट्स गेटिंग वर्स. देन ऑफ कोर्स देयर इज द माइंड बॉडी कनेक्शन कि आप रिलैक्सेशन, योगा करिए, मेडिटेशन करिए, गाइडेड इमेजरी, गाइडेड मेडिटेशन रियली रियली वर्क्स इन टर्म्स ऑफ सैड बिकॉज they are actually leading you mentally to a place where you should be. ठीक है, तो guided imagery really works. So and that is something that I can vouch for. It works. It makes you calmer. It makes you guided meditation. Some people find it very difficult to meditate. Boring लगता है, जो कि होता भी है unless you get into it and then you will not find anything better. इसलिए you should try या start with guided meditation. क्योंकि वो लोग जो बोलते रहते हैं, the moment you start relaxing, you will follow their words and get to the place mentally where you should be. Music and art therapy also, because it engages not just your brain but also your senses, which is aromatherapy is another thing that will help, right? But primarily treatment की अगर हम बात करते हैं तो हमें बहुत फोकस्ड तरीके से ये देखना है कि शेड्यूल होना बहुत जरूरी है. And like I said कि जो serotonin है, जो happy hormone है, it's serotonin ideally is a neurotransmitter, but for the sake of saying it, the happy hormone that you have, it is affected by sunlight या फिर physical activity. Physical activity, you feel better when you work out, you feel better when you dance, you feel better when you generally are mobile, when you are in movement. क्योंकि जैसे जैसे आपका body move करता है, the body in itself starts producing happiness hormones. तो बहुत जरूरी है कि नहीं, मन नहीं करता, you are not going to feel like it because your body chemistry is such as that is where the schedule comes into play. नहीं भी मन करते हुए भी, if you are taking other forms, of course medicines will help, everything will help, लेकिन एक schedule follow करके जिसमें आप physical activity के लिए time जरूर रख रहे हैं, that has a major effect, especially on SAD, in all forms of depression as well as other mental health ailments. लेकिन SAD में तो definitely, क्योंकि जितना sunlight की जो कमी को आप compensate करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, जैसे ही आप exercise करते हैं, physical workout करते हैं, it kind of somewhere compensates. जो serotonin जो है वो normal sunlight से बनना चाहिए था, exercise के कारण वो थोड़ा बहुत कॉम्पनसेट हो रहा है. समर्स के अंदर अगर आप एक्सरसाइज करें तो आपका जो एक्सेसिव एनर्जी आप में बिल्डअप हो रहा है, दैट काइंड ऑफ गेट्स डिसिपेटेड. सो सम ऑफ फिजिकल वर्कआउट का जो शेड्यूल है, सोशल वर्कआउट का भी शेड्यूल बनना चाहिए. इवन इफ यू डोंट फील लाइक इट, यू मस्ट गो. डोंट वांट टू विजिट पीपल, गो टू अ कैफे, गो टू अ प्लेस वेयर यू सी पीपल. दैट इज, I understand कि अगर हम किसी से बात नहीं करें तो सोशल कैसे, but being in a social situation is also somehow better than being alone. Things become better. अब जो ये इतने सारे book cafes are coming up, आया देखा मैंने, they're coming up for this sole reason. Yes, you can read in one corner in your home, but if you get out, आप बाहर जाओगे, आप तैयार होगे, you will put in an effort, and all that matters is that is very essential. It's very good for your self-esteem. You look at yourself in the mirror. If you're constantly looking lethargic, you're feeling lethargic. If you feel pressure, you're likely to, if you look pressure, you'll be feeling pressure, which kind of makes all the difference, especially in terms of any sort of mental health disorder. It is always, and the only thing that really matters is what you think about yourself, about others. It's always you. That's the beauty of psychology. We are only focused on the person we are dealing with. The rest of the world becomes inconsequential. Then one of the things I think I always have in my PPTs, I always have what to take away. And I think हम लोग सभी probably aware है mental health issues के बारे में, but कुछ एक चीजें होती हैं which I am very particular about कि ये चीजें आप especially somebody who's suffering को नहीं कहते हैं. एक तो ये कहना तुम्हारे अपने दिमाग में, हाँ उसके अपने दिमाग में है, बट उसको लग रहा है, the person, say suppose I am suffering, if it is real for me it is real and hence my reaction to the problem. जस्ट बिकॉज आपको नहीं नजर आ रहा है डजंट मीन कि मेरे लिए वो रियल नहीं है. सो इट्स नॉट इमेजिनरी. मेरे लिए वो उतना ही सच है जितना आपके लिए आपकी रियलिटी सच है. So I am affected by what I think, what is in my head. So being dismissive, being patronizing never helps. किसी को बहुत सारे लोग अपनी तरफ से तो they are being empathetic or sympathetic, I don't know what they are, but then they say कि अरे it's just this, nothing could have been worse. What do you want? What is worse than having a panic attack? जिसको हो रहा होता है उससे ज्यादा किसी को नहीं पता होता what is worse than having a panic attack. For them it actually feels like that क्योंकि सांस नहीं आ रहा होता. You want to breathe, you're gasping and you can't breathe. So no, there is nothing worse could happen. Okay, then you are, and this is one of the primary thing, and especially parents and the older generation who feel कि mental health issues सिर्फ attention के लिए है. उनका pet dialogue होता है, सब कुछ तो है तुम्हारे पास, फिर क्यों दुखी हो, तुम्हें तो आदत है रोने की. नहीं, अगर सब कुछ होने से डिप्रेशन का कोई भी लेना देना होता तो ऑल ऑफ दी स्टार्स who suddenly started coming out with this would not have gone through. क्योंकि मटीरियलिस्टिकली अगर आप देखें तो उनके पास सब कुछ है. बट हमारी प्रॉब्लम ये नहीं है. इट इज नेवर व्हाट इज ऑन द आउटसाइड, इट इज ऑलवेज व्हाट इज ऑन द इनसाइड. मुझे जो खालीपन महसूस हो रहा है वो मेरे अंदर है. तो बाहर मेरे पास कुछ भी हो उसको मैं अंदर डाल के, नो अमाउंट ऑफ शॉपिंग, नो अमाउंट ऑफ ट्रैवलिंग, नो अमाउंट ऑफ eating, no amount of substance abuse can fill the emptiness that is on the inside. तो मेरे पास बाहर भौतिक रूप से फिजिकली मटीरियलिस्टिकली सब कुछ है भी तो भी मुझे डिप्रेशन हो सकता है क्योंकि अंदर का खालीपन तो वो नहीं भर रहा है ना. इट इज जस्ट डिस्ट्रैक्टिंग मी टेम्पररीली बट इवेंचुअली आई विल कम बैक टू बीइंग मी. राइट, इतना सोचो मत. This is another thing. Stop thinking about it. No, you can't stop thinking about it. Your brain's primary job in life is to think. Right? You cannot stop thoughts. Meditation के बारे में जो लोगों को गलत फहमी है कि meditation में thought खत्म हो जाते हैं, नहीं होते हैं. It is simply कि you stop focusing on one thought. And that comes with training. Your brain is never going to stop thinking. The only time it will stop thinking is when you die. And even then we don't know because the dead don't speak. तो हमें नहीं मालूम है. So point being is कि these are not just illogical, they're also very insensitive things to say. एक तो व्यक्ति परेशान है, ऊपर से आप उसकी मदद नहीं कर रहे हो ये सारी चीजें बोल के. It's not making her feel better. इतना मत सोचो. हम सभी के साथ, ये तो सबके साथ होता है. It's no big deal. Yes, it is a big deal and नहीं सबके साथ नहीं होता. आपको नॉर्मल व्यक्ति अगर सैड फील करता है तो मे बी इट कुड बी for an hour, for a day, for a month. But imagine endlessly feeling nothing. Depression isn't about feeling just sad. It goes up to a point where you feel absolutely nothing. Neither sad nor depressed. It's like you are just physically existing and then you have to carry the load of the body. So नहीं सबके साथ नहीं होता है और नहीं ये normal नहीं है, नहीं ये common भी नहीं है. It is time that people become more sensitive. You are not going to say to a cancer patient, and no, I'm not trying to find a balance or give an example. I'm actually saying कि कोई physical ailment वाले व्यक्ति को तो आप ये जाके नहीं कहता, अरे ये तो normal है सबको. तो फिर mental health के जिसको issues है उसको क्यों कहा जाए? Because there's a lack of sensitivity नहीं है, क्योंकि हमारे साथ नहीं हो रहा तो हमें पता नहीं. Right? And then this is another thing. Suicide is cowardly. Suicide is selfish. No, it's not. Where does cowardice or selfishness comes into it? The person who actually thinks of killing themselves, they are not killing themselves कि चलो अब मैं मर के ना इनको दिखाता हूँ तब इनको पता चलेगा. No, nobody is doing that. People actually take that major step when they feel they are not worthy enough to live. एंड जब तक वो जीवित हैं, जिनसे वो प्यार करते हैं वो दुखी हैं. सो वी नीड टू इमेजिन और ट्राई एंड एट लीस्ट अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज गोइंग ऑन इन द माइंड ऑफ अ पर्सन हु वुड रादर एंड देयर लाइफ देन टू गो ऑन लिविंग. इट्स अ वेरी सेंसिटिव थिंग एंड नो, एंड ये नहीं कह सकते कि बहुत सीवियर डिप्रेशन में ही ऐसा होता है. आपको क्या पता किस चीज को सीवियर कह रहे हैं? वो तो जो इंडिविजुअल जिसकी बात चल रही है केवल वो बता सकता है. सीजनल अफेक्टिव डिसऑर्डर कहने के लिए इट इज टेम्पोरल बिकॉज सीजन के स्टार्टिंग में शुरू होगा और सीजन के एंड तक खत्म हो जाएगा, लेकिन वो पूरा सीजन तो निकलना है। उस टाइम में व्यक्ति कितनी सिवियरिटी फॉलो कर रहा है या कितना सिवियर उसके सिम्टम्स हो जाते हैं कि उसको लगता है खत्म करो। So point being is that no suicide is not cowardly, suicide is not selfish. In fact, nobody plans suicide. It is that trigger moment in the mind wherein you just, in that moment you feel I have no way out, end it all. It'll be better for me, it'll be better for the rest of the world. And that's a very, very, very upsetting place to be in. So no, it's not selfish. They're not trying to prove a point. And no, they're not cowardly. They just feel there is no way out. So when we talk about it, if we get to the end of it, seasonal affective disorder is very real. It is not something people imagine, and no, it cannot be dismissed as thinking it is winter blues or summer mania. No, it's a problem. And if you recognize it, if you think that yes, this has gone on for too long enough that मैं अपने रोजमर्रा के काम नहीं कर सकती हूँ, or that I am thinking of self-harm, I have started constantly feeling guilty, worthless, that is when you need to see a doctor. Because इसके symptoms शुरू होते हैं जब weather शुरू होता है, ये it goes on like a general normal sadness. लेकिन जैसे सीजन आगे तक चलता रहता है, आपके symptoms better नहीं हो रहे. If you are afflicted by sad, वो better नहीं होता है. By the depth of winter, you are completely out of it. You don't find joy in anything. आप कुछ नहीं करना चाहते हो. आप खा भी इसलिए रहे हो क्योंकि आपको लगता नहीं कोई एनर्जी कहाँ से आएगी. So the simple basic senses के joy भी goes out of life. That is when you do need to see a doctor. And no, I would never recommend going and doing or taking any sort of medicines without prescription. I cannot emphasize that enough. It is very important that we understand it. और एक people keep coming up with their own ideas. ये पी लो, ये खा लो. Don't do that. Don't do that, because you never know how your body is going to react to what. So whatever, leave it to the professionals. And there is absolutely no shame in seeking professional help. So from my PPT, this is where I wind up, and I'm hoping that by the end of all the other speakers and by the end of this session, if you have any queries for me, please feel free to ask me pertaining to any dimension of mental health for that matter. And thank you very much for your time and patience. And I think I'll now hand it over to Dr. Sirohi.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I mean, as always, power-packed and a lot of information, lots of questions are coming in regarding, sugar rush with the, as a result, as a consequence of SAD and so on and so forth. So, Dr. Punia has, like I was saying, there is one aspect of her personality. I mean, she is very, very, got varied experience. I mean, she has worked with institutionalized people. She has done corporate counseling. She has done work in organizational behavior. She has visited de-addiction centers. She has worked under a psychiatrist in Delhi. So that kind of reflects, and one standout part of her her whole career, I would say, is that during the 8.5 odd years that she has put in the service of the Haryana government, normally people move an arm and a leg to get an urban posting in Panchkula or Chandigarh or this or that, or in their hometown. She has spent, friends, out of these I would say 8.5 years, she has spent 6.5 years in rural postings, and that too Manke, on choice. So I think how many people do that, I don't know. I mean, how many teachers, how many doctors, how many civil servants want to go and work in rural areas? And she is now teaching psychology to girls who are from BPL families. They don't even have money for auto rickshaws. I remember once she's telling me that, can you arrange for a bus from Haryana Roadways, because these people don't have money for an auto to go home, and 10 rupees is too much for them. So that they get a fighting chance to come up. So I think that is also manifest in her style of presenting. And you have left us with a lot of questions, and in fact I have a lot of questions of my own which probably I'll take offline, but there are a lot of questions which are coming up on the thing, so we will just consolidate them and come to the respective speakers thereafter. I know Mr. Talukdar would now like to speak. And over to you, sir. And we really look forward to hearing from you regarding your personal experiences. And yes, I mean, please feel free to, be as candid as you can. And in the interregnum, let me just welcome our new friends and colleagues who have just joined us in the interregnum. We have been joined by Tulika ma'am, who is our founding member, one of our founding members, Mr. Sanjeevan Lal. Any of you wants a role in the films, please contact him. And so he's a, there. Supreet ma'am is here, and we are joined by a lot of our Monica ma'am, of course, is here. So yes, Dr. Abhishek Shankar, who spoke to us beautifully last time about cancer and mental health and all of those things, cancer being treatable, and and a lot of your. Our new friends, Mr. Shankar Arora, Mr. Vipin Pandey, etc. So welcome all of you, and I think today we are in for a very nice session. So, Mr. Talukdar, sir, over to you.
Oh, thank you, everyone. Just let me know if I'm quite audible or not.
Yes, you're audible. That's the catchphrase during COVID-19. Am I audible?
Oh, yeah, indeed. And very good evening, all of you. It's around 9:30 here in Brisbane, though. Just to begin with, my name is Joy Talukdar, and I'm an Indian-Australian lawyer currently based in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. At the outset, I take this opportunity to thank the organizing team, all of you, the founding members, to have created this fantastic forum of proud depressives. Especially to give me the opportunity to speak in this forum. Well, we have heard Dr. Punia. She was so exhaustive in her speaking. I would probably take just 20 minutes of your valuable time, and I'll make it a little lighter and maybe a little bit of some laughter, some serious things. And I'm so happy for the fact that she almost covered everything that I'm going to speak about. And yeah. So, to talk, I might read a little bit of things that I've had written for myself because for my things, but yeah, mostly I'll be talking. So if you see me walking on the street, you would see a 6 feet tall, physically fit man dressed in a professional suit with glasses on, appear very confident, and you possibly get an impression, a perfect, happy, and a successful man. But behind that sturdy, strong outward facade, there lies the recovered, depressed person who spent his days for years in misery of dark cloud of depression. The cloud was so dark and persistent that I started thinking that this is how it would be for the rest of my life. It all started after I moved from a highly fulfilling career in New Delhi with the American Express to Kolkata High Court and subsequently had a divorce from a bad marriage and was separated from my daughter Ira. She was barely 2.5 years at that time. I would spend days in extreme sadness only for Ira. The only respite and solace after a long day in the court was in a bottle of alcohol, which Dr. Punia did speak about, just a while ago, why people take to things like that. So that's a temporary solution to anything when you're depressed or whatever. And anxiety, of course, summers and winters, she did talk about elaborately on that already. But that I'm sharing a survival story of mine, so how I survived, and yes. And, it didn't, and that was something, now I might get a little emotional about it as well while I'm speaking, so because those were very tough days of mine. And the alcohol would turn me into an angry person full of resentment about life and the bad marriage that I had. Why me was the question every time. People then started seeing the outward boisterous drunk person, but completely oblivious to the sad, crumbling, broken-hearted person who wouldn't care whether he is alive or dead. Some years of walking alone aimlessly in the dark, dense forest of depression, not knowing who and where to turn to and having no support. I lost all hope and was increasingly getting detached from life. I couldn't care less if I was hit by a car or a train and I died. I was Well, the only thing that I was holding on to be very honest, was my job, because I knew that that is my source of sustenance, and therefore I would go to the court. Yes, my colleagues, to some extent, even the judges said that, you're not the same Mr. Talukdar. What is it? uh, there was productivity issue, performance issues, things like that, which my colleagues, my senior colleagues, and things like that, which were being highlighted. But I had nothing to do. But I mean, of course, but I would be present in the court. I would complete my hours, come back at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, catch a public transport or a taxi, come back home, just only to douse myself into some thoughts. No socializing. Normally, we advocates, we stay back in the bar council, sit, we chit chat, we share our experiences. That's how we learn. Even if I'm not doing, a case of my own, I would share my case, what had happened with me, and I would gain knowledge of something that my colleague has done. Probably I have had done a motor accident matter, and I have just shared what went in the court of motor accident. Let's an appeal that I dealt with. My colleague went to the family court. I don't deal with family laws, but then I know what has happened, because that's how we lawyers, we gain knowledge, by sharing. And that's what it's very important for us to spend those little hours chit chatting after 4 o'clock, once the court is over, and we spend there at least an hour or two after court hours, and then we kind of depart for our, leave for our houses and things like that. Anyway, well, people then started seeing the outwardly boisterous drunk person, and well, all this were happening for about 2.5 years. And can you imagine, I had my parents were also started losing hope that what has had happened to this boy. And parents would only compare that, remember when we used to go to Delhi, you were a different person, now you're a different person. So I was finding it so difficult. I said, yeah, did I make a mistake in my decision of relocating from Delhi to Calcutta? Because that was my second stint in the litigation. In the first stint, I was there for 2.5, 3 years in the litigation practice, and since it was not so well, because the money was hard to come by. It was coming, but in discrete bundles, which was not the kind of person that I would kind of accept it. Because I didn't go into an umbrella of joining Fox and Mine or any kind of law firms at that time, because I believed in practicing independently, and probably join a senior counsel and just gain some experience. That might have been my choice at that time. Maybe I was wrong. So when I gained some insight about it, and I was mature, so I thought that now it's time for me. And at the behest of some decision, as I said, that it was a bad marriage, and I was kind of literally forced to come back to Calcutta, which is not my playground. As it's often said that, Sunil Gavaskar did not make too many runs in Eden Garden, so that was not his playground. So that's how it was for me. So Calcutta, even though I'm a Bengali, I never lived in Calcutta for a long time. So I had too many differences. I don't know, for any reason. Well, now coming to the latter part of it, and then I met Mithali. Well, that was again something that was very interesting, because I was taking up her case at Calcutta High Court, who happens to be a senior consultant psychiatrist here at Prince Charles Hospital. I was taking up her case, and that was very, very one of a junior student of mine who studied with me at Birla in Nainital. He happened to meet Mithali, and she shared some difficult situations that she was facing with the lawyers in Calcutta High Court, that she was just being kind of she was being taken taken for granted in terms of the lawyers were looting her money and then not giving her the relief that she was looking for. So then the guy said, his name is Dr. Rajiv Siotia. I'm sure that some of them are really watching. He's in Melbourne now. Yeah, so he just came in and said that my brother, my younger brother, so my elder brother is there. Joy Bhai Sahab is there from my school. He's practicing at Calcutta High Court. So would you want me to speak to him? She said fine. That's why I met Mithali. Yeah, as we met more, and did take time to. She did not take any time to diagnose the underlying issues that I had. I started getting treatment with her help, and I survived. The management worked wonders and had immediate effects. Sprung me back into my feet. My recognition, the pace and the productivity, my alcohol abstinence, everything came back in almost no time. Now, this is so important that if this Dr. Punia just highlighted few things. I just wish I will be coming to that. You'll probably be able to identify. What if, when I was 12 years of age, if my mother, instead of taking me to astrologer, getting me four-finger rings, which is very typical of Bengalis, getting me an emerald, a bloodstone, and something like those, I used to wear that and then go to my school, and again for that I was being bullied. Oh, you're a Safji wearing this, and I was in 8th standard, year 8. Can you imagine? Again being bullied. So I came back and I said, Mom, I don't want to, because my friends are teasing me for this. So she took out everything and then gave me one for my, over here, you wear it on your this. So these things were happening, and see, imagine if my mom could have had taken me to Dr. Punia, someone like Dr. Punia, I would have had been saved a lot of other things. Okay, now coming to another thing. My early childhood memory of my mother was of getting very angry at me for being just a child and hitting me with a leather belt. That was when I was too young. Just because I was. I'm sorry. I can't help it. I was naughty. Now I know not being. You know what? When I will get out of the bus.
I think, Joy, you deserved it. Joy, I think you deserved it.
Oh well. I'm just sharing. I have to share it. So I can't just be lying about when I'm sharing my survival story. So, well, whatever. So because
please tell us what you did. I mean, you were getting down from somewhere. Please tell us what you did.
Beg your pardon for?
You were telling us something that you did to deserve those beatings.
Yes. Oh, what I did was that while just entering the house, before that there used to be like some water would get into the the roads, like where you have water logged and all that. So I would jump in there and get my shoes and dress and all that all wet. So when I come back, and she would see that from the bus stop where I was dropped, and by the time I come home, so my shoes, my school dress with my bag is all soaked in water, and that too the dirty water which is there on the road, which was the potholes that you normally have in India. So yeah, and I didn't know that was wrong to do, but I did that. So I used to get beaten anyway. That was very young, probably I was in 2nd standard or 1st standard. Yeah. Okay, I recall being fearful all the time. Yeah, I have written all this because Dad was always working at distant sites. Started off because I was born in Patna at Kurji, because that time the Patna Gandhi Setu was under construction. So yes, that is how I was born there. I was raised in I would say that in that time it was Uttar Pradesh, but now it's Uttarakhand, part of Uttarakhand, because Nainital. That's where I spent my most fundamental year, where I grew from a little boy to a man. And then I came up barely for 3 years. I was in Calcutta. But what was more important was that I was sent to a boarding school in Nainital, nearly 1,500 kilometers away from home. And I was separated from my younger brother. Initial acclimatization at boarding school. Now comes another tough part of the life. School with older boys was extremely challenging. Now, constantly being picked up and bullied at a school was extremely difficult years of my life. Now, the reason they would call me names for being dark. Now that's a very common name, Kallu. Okay, fine. And I had to deal with it on my own. Okay, I was very serious, introvert, anxious student who was never seen to be happy and being like others, carefree and happy types. Especially there was to be a lot of crowd. There were a handful of people in that school whose parents were from service background. Okay, otherwise most of them were from business houses. Like, you wear Liberty shoes, उसके मालिक का बेटा है. गगन बनस्पति उसके मालिक का बेटा है. ये है तो उसके मालिक का बेटा है. So all the industrialists of Delhi and all the political things, Henry Tiwari, that time the chief minister, his sons were studying there. So anyway, they had all of them. So इन लोगों का थोड़ा सा था मतलब, and then they had all this. So whatsoever. So okay. Now what was left for me as a year 4 student, like, over here they call year 4, the 4th or 5th standard, which I presume I was just 10 or 11 years at the time of age. They would call me names, and I said that, yeah, I was very serious introvert. Yeah, I did say that. I realized that I need to be strong to be able to dribble the ball, hockey ball, and hit them back hard. Yeah, because they would normally say that, yeah, hey, Kallu ko don't pass it to Kallu. Okay, they'll dribble it amongst themselves, and then they'll play. So these things had hit me when I come back to my bed. I would say that, oh, why are they doing it to me? I was also like, of course, you have to consider the age. Today, if they do it, I have reasons. I'm old enough to justify. I'm old enough to do things. But I was also very young at that time. I went there because I loved the roller skates. I said that, no, I'm going to take admission. My father said that I'm going to come here because in 1984, when I visited first time on an annual day, when R. Venkat Raman, I still remember, was the vice president, was the chief guest on that annual day function. So I said that, no, I'm going to come here, take the admission, and then I'll do that. So that was 85. Then I was eventually I got admitted. So anyway, so I had to get up. Our reporting to the field used to be at 6 o'clock in the morning in the cold winters. Nainital is very cold, but I would get up at 4:30 in the morning, and then of course change myself, wear tracksuit, take my ball and hockey stick, and go to the hockey field, dribble myself all the way for 2 hours, and hit the ball into the goal post, and then collect it back, and then hit the ball. So that I had to do it for about a year, and then what had happened. I practiced that extra hours, and then the best part was that sooner I was able to break my seniors' shin, and hit their groins, and they stopped. And they stopped because the Darwin's theory is that survival of the fittest, and that worked wonders. They just stopped it. Later, I was the sports champion at my school in the year 1992-93 with the highest points ever recorded, which has not been broken yet. Now, looking back after this incident, there was a bad incident which had happened because all this had culminated into a depressive state, which I just said, at the fag end of my life when I had to be separated from my daughter, who was just the love of my life. I saw that, and I just went to a depression. I said that I fought all my life. This is what I'm reading out now, or whatever I'm sharing with you, is something that was my struggles of my life, and I did it well. I fought every time. I fell down, I just stood up, and then I fought. I fell down, I stood up, and I fought. So these are the thing. And then that was the time when I felt that, yes, I'm depressed, because that is one time I felt, as Dr. Punia said, that someone who thinks to kill, to take his life or to commit suicide is not telling, hey, I'll commit suicide and you will see what you are losing. No, because the person feels useless to that no, because my parents gave up on me. They had literally given up on me. They were. My father would say that, yeah, you're going to stay in Salt Lake. Like, I was putting up in a different place, and my parents, they have our own different, our ancestral house that's where my parents were putting up, not too far away, around 40 kilometers. So they'll say that, hey, don't come here. Because that's an ancestral place, over there, people get to see that, if you're drunk and things like that, they know that this is a house which is, इसमें बहुत इज्जत की बात है, यहाँ पे grandfathers का नाम है and things like that. I don't want you to. You want to do it, just go and do it in the Salt Lake house. वहाँ पे जाके करो, यहाँ पे नहीं. ये एक दादाजी का घर है, यहाँ पे लोग जानते हैं, मेरे बारे में बोलेंगे and things like that. So they were more concerned about their things rather than. So that is when it just started coming into my head that I'm worthless. I already had a bad marriage. I have got no access to my daughter. And what am I doing? Going to the court, doing the things. I was not even charging anything to my clients, and especially to the poor clients. I have had just given up. And I don't know. Maybe there is something like in the hindsight, there was something that was giving me, you know, some blessings. You know, it was coming in through probably. And that's what that's why I'm here. Probably that I'm here today, and I could fight it out. Otherwise, I would have perished. I would not have been here. That Mithali came into my life, and then she is a psychiatrist. She could. I didn't even have to tell her. You know, I was just sharing that. You know, what is your situation? This is my situation, and she would see things, and then within no time, immediately she had to prescribe few things that this is what you need to do. This is what you need to, you know, this is what it is, and then she referred me to her friend, you know, directly that, you know, you please see the person. I'd rather say that, you know, you go through. So these consultations were being done and things like that, and that's how and that's it is. So now another thing, yeah. Looking back at the incident when I was barely 14 years and old, and I was traveling on my own from Rajdhani Express from Howrah to New Delhi. I still get the goosebumps when I recall the devastating bomb blast at Paharganj in the year 1989. I distinctly recall how I stood there shaking helplessly, watching the lifeless arm of a boy hanging from the overhead power line. The sounds of the shop shutters, you know, the closing frantically in front of me. For years, you know, I get distressed memories of the same even now. And that is, you know, PTSD, that's what you call. I was not aware of these terminologies. I studied too many things otherwise. I did, and a little bit of medical things as well, human physiology, anatomy, everything. But I never, except for one or two things, I feel this is such a forum. I think this has to go a long, long way to tell every parent to reach out to people to come and open up. Going to a psychologist, going to a psychiatrist is not going to Pagalokwa doctor. You have to understand. That's what I said, that if my wife, if my mom, instead of going to an astrologer, if she would have taken me to Dr. Punia at that time, I would have been a much different person. I wouldn't have had to go through all this today, what I'm sharing with you. And this is, I had to board a taxi, buy a bus ticket, transfer my bedding, trunk, suitcase, cricket bat, tennis racket, along with the airbag, go all the way to Old Delhi, Church Mission Road, near Chandni Chowk, from where board a night bus to Nainital. This is what I have to do after that bomb blast, which I saw just in front of me. Thanks to that Sardarji, uncle whom I was referring to, uncle, I showed my ID card, and the RPF personnel who had cordoned off the entire Paharganj, the railway station, had allowed me to go out. And the taxi had taken me after buying the bus ticket. He actually put me there at a city heart travel there, and I was the entire day I was shaking, waiting until, because the Rajdhani arrived at 10 o'clock, 10:10. The bomb blast happened around 10:20 or so. Whatever. So that memories are still there. Okay. Now what had happened? So while vacations, now this has had a repercussion in my life, even during my school days. While vacations was a time of rejoicing with family for many, my friends in my school, it would be a dreaded time for me to face my angry, ever critical mother, and would be forced to listen to her relentless criticism of my father, because my father had a transferable job. Once a project finishes, my father will be transferred. So he never had a government job, which is like, you know, being posted once in a place and forever. Even though my maternal grandfather was also in railways, and he also had a transferable job. But my mom always advocated for a government job rather than a private job, which is more kind of draining, as per my mom's statement. It was worse when both were there at home. They would frequently argue, and I would think that I was the cause. Now this put me into a situation whenever, you know, I'm there, I'm a little child in the house, both my father and mother arguing, they're talking, my father would not eat, and he would go out of the house. How do I feel when I have to sit and eat? I would not be able to eat because my father didn't eat. He went out of the house. So these are very, very distressing, very traumatic situation in the house. So this is also, there is a term for this. What is it? Something like family dysfunction and things like that. Okay, I can compassionately understand that she never experienced maternal affection because, well, I would like to pause here to retrospectively analyze my mother's reaction. Can clearly see that she lost her own mother when she was 7 herself. She was raised by her own older siblings with minimal parental affection. I can compassionately understand that she ever experienced maternal affection from anyone, and therefore she could not pass it on to the next. You know, we were two siblings. My younger brother is too young. I have never seen that motherly, cuddling being given to my younger brother. So that is another thing. Like, she's not. I cannot even say that she is an illiterate. She completed her BA in Economics Honors from BHU and her MA Part 1 when she got married. However, she lacked in certain social skills. Dr. Punia already stated that when you have certain things you lack in social skills, the sad thing, the season affected disorder, when you go through, she was always sad. She was always a sadist, rather, I would say. Anyway, again, now I can relate to why she was, but at that point in time, I was not. So well, this is what it is. However, she lacked in certain social skills, essential skill of humor, laughter for her life, and was challenged, and that's it. Okay, before we go, I don't know, this is just not even 1 minute I would like to share this, because when I was an alcoholic, I felt that there is a starking thing that we can do in India. Um, there is an underlying message for various section of people in Indian society. Being in Australia, I see there is numerous awareness support for. Oh, no. This is not that. Oh, I will not take much of time. Sorry, I just. Oh, am I running more time after?
No, you're absolutely fine. Please take your time, Mr. Talukdar. Please take your time. That's fine. Absolutely fine.
No, I'm very time conscious.
No. Please take your time. That's
Over
fine.
here, if you take more time, then you're given like.
I understand, but I think, especially, we would like to know more about what got you into trouble and, how you came out of the trouble. And you're absolutely on the, you're absolutely holding forth.
I do tend to deviate. That's what even the judges
Joy,
say that.
$1 per minute.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's too less. Mine is too that way. Okay. All right. So now the question is, why am I talking about all this? It might sound all those gyan. Now, there is a strong underlying message for various sections of people in Indian society. Being in Australia, I see numerous awareness and support groups for bullying at schools, which was not acknowledged as an issue and is normalized back in India. Children here if showing signs of ADHD, I did have signs of ADHD, okay, are taken to a doctor, whereas I was taken to an astrologer, which I already talked about. Okay, typical of Bengalis. Okay, this I already dealt with, and therefore I was not going through. Reflecting on the past, I see numerous lost opportunities for effective investigations, interventions, my apology. Starting from my childhood, if there was awareness around ADHD, I would have had been taken to a doctor and a psychologist to help manage my behavior, and my parents' responses, lack of awareness around PTSD and emotional impact of the bomb blast or such catastrophic events led to no intervention for me at all. I was short-tempered in my childhood and I had poor attention span as well. So whenever I used to sit with my books for my studies, I used to find it difficult to concentrate for a longer time. So if I sit and I was just, I'll be lost. Again, I have to focus. So it was a challenge for me again. So a friend of mine who is sitting only for 2 hours of studies, I had to study for 4 hours to cover the same amount of probably the knowledge into my head. So which definitely affected my studies. Not acknowledging and addressing the devastating effect of bullying, the system at large, only cultivated anger and resentment in me. Failures to recognize depression, which subsequently led to alcoholism, costed me on many fronts of my life, including my career, relationship with my family, loss of productivity of number of years. This was due to lack of awareness about depression. They say men don't cry, but there is a reason as crying for a man is deemed shameful for a societal perspective. Seeking help is associated with stigma. If a man cries, unfortunately, it's not taken in a very right, in a right perspective. Oh, you're a man, why you're crying? Crying is only a prerogative of women. They can do it. No. Men and women, they are just the same. Biologically, also they're the same, except that women go through some more hormonal changes in their lifetime. That's the only difference. Though my story is full of missed opportunities for intervention, but I'm lucky that I survived the dark clouds with proper diagnosis and intervention. Maybe late, but it came to me during my lifetime. I would rather say during my lifetime, otherwise I wouldn't have been here talking to you all. Our mission to bring the diagnosis and intervention to the needy is the need of the hour. There should be no shame in seeing a psychiatrist or a psychologist at any point in your life. Though through this forum, our aim is to cascade the message that we need to talk more about depression, OCD, ADHD, PTSD, anxiety, schizophrenia, and bipolar disorders. These terminologies should be known to every household. It's a very common thing. Say, what happened to that gentleman in the other house? Oh, he's suffering from cancer. All right, so we know cancer. That lady, she has bronchitis. So you know bronchitis. Every household knows what bronchitis is. Oh, he's got cough and cold. So you know what cough and cold is. Headache. It's just like that. So why don't people know what an OCD, ADHD is? She talked so well. Dr. Punia just said that there is something associated with, nobody knew. A child after eating chocolates or sweets, he or she starts jumping. And this is just a little phenomena. And we don't know why she's jumping, because she had a sugar rush in her blood. And that's why she's jumping. So we need to identify these things, and we need to cascade this along for many people around. And this is not a small task. We need to, I don't know, I'm sure that many listeners will, now I'm just getting I'm just kind of preaching things. No, I shouldn't be. Last but not the least, I wanted to touch base a strong recommendation to bring in a legislation for the liquor companies in India that they must sell liquor bottles with a label of how much of standard drinks does it contain in all forms of alcohol, be it beer, be it so-called the hard drinks that we refer to as the vodka, whiskey, whatever, rum. These exercise shall bring a lot of discipline in drinkers to understand what is okay to drink and what is not. Here in Australia, if you pick up a beer, if it is a strong beer, it will mention how many standard drinks it is. So back in India, the problem is that a beer will never state, it will just say the percentage, BV content. Now, people say, oh, I want a strong beer. Someone will say, oh, another beer, 10,000. Someone comes with Hayward's 5,000, someone will come with 10,000. You want to go for higher BV alcohol percentage for the buzz and the kick, without knowing what it is costing you. And that is where this legislation needs to be brought, and that there is no harm in it. सरकार अपना पैसा कमाएगी, एक्साइज के थ्रू में सब कुछ करेगी, बट इसमें एक भला हो जाएगा. In every bottle, if they can just mention a little, this contains 42 standard drinks. If it is a whiskey, if it is a vodka, if it is a gin, beer, the light beer, they contain this many drinks. So a person would know. There is a very, I can just show it. I'm sorry, I just have to get up here. I was just looking at it. I can share these things later on, but just to have a look. Alcohol drug services, and over here they have a very lovely way. No, this one's, sorry, I'll share that. I'll share that later. with you all. Now, this is very, very important. Actually, they do it. I'm going to share this, of course. This is not the right way to share it, but so this will bring people who want to drink it in the right way. I'm sure that now people have awareness. I have seen that people are started eating habits have had become much better. Unlike very typically, if we see that Indians are not very good, like we eat whatever we want to. Like nowadays, there is little bit of awareness, like less of oil, a culmination of both, less of carbohydrates, of both vegetables and things like that. So even in alcohol, people understand like it's not just the pegs. Okay, you make Patiala peg or you make this peg and then you just have it. It's not like that. So yeah. Anyway, with this, I just thank you for your listen and thank you for your time. I'm sorry because it was my own life and I had to just put it down. So some extra time was taken and some emotional things because I had to share this. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Talukdar. That was actually very, very fantastic, and you spoke from the heart, and you spoke very enthusiastically, and literally, I would say.
I think we need to clap for Joy.
Absolutely, that's the way. Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic.
No, absolutely. And this is, I would like to say, childlike enthusiasm, basically, and this is the epitome of that. And a lot of people are also making the point here that astrologers may not like it, but that is the right kind of approach which parents should be doing. And you made some very, very. So for example, the last thing that you said about the content in the alcohol should be displayed. The number of drinks, not just WB percentage or VB percentage.
Right.
The number of drinks should be clearly mentioned because that makes a difference. And if you write down number of calories, people have less of bhujia in India, right?
Yes,
so something similar needs to be done, and that's a very good suggestion. And on the others, and you've turned adversity into strength. So that Nainital football, hockey, that was fantastic. And of course. Archana ma'am, of course, mentions TDH qualities. So it is, dark is not, I don't think, this is another problem which we have to tell people in India that being fair is nothing which is very great. In Punjab, Haryana, people want to marry, fair skinned girls, but then there are no girls. So they're getting them from Bangladesh and Kerala. So yeah. And they're paying money for that. So that is what demand and supply does. So I don't think that, the skin color and all, in fact, in trademark law, there is a case, Fair and Lovely. You cannot use that name. So for a fairness cream, Fair and Lovely cannot be used. It's a different matter. They are doing it through the back door, not to be talked about here. But the courts have given their judgment. Fair and Lovely cannot be a trademark.
No, Dr. Sirohi, that has happened now, but then it has been happening for the last 30 years.
That's what I'm saying. So, but change, so thank you very, very much for such an enlightening kind of talk. And I think all our survivor stories have been better than the best. We've had Dr. Lisa, fantastic, heartfelt talk, and then now yours. So I think each of them better than the other. So I think fantastic. It was a pleasure listening to you. Seriously, it was a pleasure listening to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I would now like to call upon our third and last speaker for the day, Dr. Anita Das ma'am. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting for a bit, but sometimes we do tend to overstretch. And like I said, this time the content was such, and I think it's absolutely fantastic to have you with us. And I would also like to welcome one of our founder members, Priya Jaipuria ma'am, who's also here today. Hi ma'am. So it is early in the morning for her. So and she's in the US, so early in the morning.
Right.
So we are across time zones, Australia, India, America. So and different parts of India also. So somebody's here from Nainital, and like I said, role in the films is already there. Right now we have only Tulika ma'am wanting it, but there are others who may want roles in the movies. So you can always go there. So okay, so Mr. Lal is there. So I would like to request you, ma'am, to please take the floor. and please speak about your experiences as a caregiver. What are the challenges, etc. Over to you, ma'am. Dr. Anita Das.
Okay, thank you. Just I want to make, yeah, everyone is hearing me, no? My sound is
Yes,
clear?
yes.
Yes, ma'am.
No?
Yes, ma'am. You can be heard.
Okay, thank you. And just my heartiest thanks to Depressive proud Depressive brother for giving me a chance. Today I will share just my feelings and thoughts, and you can say my experiences as a sole caregiver of my, but Joy Talukdar told, ADHD, attention deficit hyperactive syndrome. So my child, Ritavan Das, he is 18 years old, suffering from ADHD, along with mental retardation, given the diagnosis by NIMHANS in the year 2008. Actually, he was born, I was having twin. He has got his elder brother. By God grace, he is fine, means he is not suffering from ADHD with no mental retardation. This is Ritavan is younger of the twins, and he was born in 2002, diagnosed in 2008. Actually, what the doctors are telling, he was born underweight, 1.6 kg. So naturally, doctors first thought that maybe it is delayed milestone. Anyway, in 2008, when there was no improvement, because he was having mental retardation also. He cannot speak, he cannot socialize, he cannot give answer to the questions what my elder among the twins can do. That way we understood that no, there must be something more than the normal. So naturally we took him to NIMHANS, and he was diagnosed ADHD with mental retardation. Anyway, after that, when we came back, what I remember, Dr. Giri Machi of NIMHANS, he's then the HOD of child psychology there. He just told me one thing, see Anita, because I don't know why he felt he came very near to us. Actually, my husband is also a doctor. He just told me one thing, Anita, see, if you want to improve your child, means he is moderate autistic, and if you want to make him mild autistic, you have to give him training, vigorous training. You have to give him vigorous training. So you are just become the sole caregiver of your child. He will improve. That much I can tell you. He will improve. So he just told me one thing. Don't get depressed, because I have seen mothers coming here, getting their child diagnosed as autistic or whatever it is, Down syndrome and everything, and they get depressed, and they go back, and they cannot take care of their child properly. They cannot give vigorous training to their child. What happens next time when they come to me? Moderate changes to severe, means the child cannot learn anything. Just because means, you know what you Joy Talukdar told, it hurt me a lot. पागल के डॉक्टर को क्यों दिखाया? Psychiatrist means पागल के doctor. That's very common in our society. What I have heard years after years. Anyway, after coming back, so I became the sole caregiver. I became his trainer. I became his mother. I became everything to him. I want to say that I am the sole caregiver, because see, for other children, other average children who are not having this ADHD and others behavioral problems, they have schools, they are accepted in the family, they are very much acceptable in the family. They've got other family members who wants to take care of them, who play with them. But for me, my child, he is not that very acceptable in the society. So you just leave it in family also by other family members. And so I have I means I can easily make out the difference that my role is from other mothers. Other mothers, they get a helper, a good school, a good infrastructure to take care of their child. But for me, it's you can say it's nil. There is in our society there is no well infrastructured school for this student. No special educator, at least in my locality where I live in Agartala at Tripura. So naturally, I depend means I just became his caregiver. Anyway, so in that sense, if you say unlimited, I am sole caregiver not for a limited period. I have accepted that also, that I am the sole caregiver of my child for unlimited period, because see, he, as I told you, moderate mental retardation. He depends on me a lot. For he can do his daily activities, but he depend on me a lot for his day-to-day activities, for his skill development. Actually, out of 24 hours, 8 hours I am in hospital being a doctor. I have to serve the society. The rest moment he is always with me. So naturally he is so emotionally bonded with me that he is dependent on me for his all trainings, including he has got a yoga teacher, he has got a music teacher, he has got a occupational therapist, all coming at home giving training. But every time he needs me, means he just wants his mother to be with him. Just today he is there with me only, he is sleeping. I told him, Mama, today Mama, your Mama has got a program, so today I cannot go out with you in the evening. You please sleep with me. Okay, he just told, means he cannot say a complete sentence, but he slept with me. So that is my experience. But what I want to say, maybe it's God's grace. Depression do come in me, because like other, I have told that they are not socially very acceptable. I am not just like other mothers, that other mothers going and enjoying in social party, or going and enjoying in a marriage ceremony, going and enjoying in a friend's birthday party, because they are not socially acceptable. That I have learned. I have I have taken him some many times here and there in a social party and all. But what I have said, people are looking at him. Some maximum people, they are giving a look that they are giving a look that he is not like average children of his age. So naturally, I have stopped going means in any party and all. But for that, I never feel depressed. I never feel depressed, because I have got a wonderful world with my son. I enjoy that. I want to tell you one thing. Whenever I come from hospital, return back, I knock at the door. I always find my son standing near the door with my clothes and soap in his hand. Means he is waiting for me when Mama will come, and Mama will take, but means after completing her toilet, Mama will take care of me. It wonders me, sir, that I want to say, my son, he cannot use clock as his time guide. He cannot see clock, but how he can estimate the time when I will come. I will come and I will he will just hug me and he will just kiss me and say, Mama, I am ready. Means he is ready to do his activities with me. So naturally, I have got a very wonderful world with him. I enjoy that. I enjoy that. And even my elder son, means the twin of the elder, he asked me, Mama, why brother is so much attached to you only? Why? That is his question. Why he is so much attached to you only? So I just tell him that maybe I have accepted him wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly, I have accepted him. Means whenever he gets aggressive, sometimes ADHD people means all specially able children, they have some behavioral problems. They sometimes become aggressive, maybe because they cannot express their, they get frustrated, they cannot express themselves fully. They get frustrated and they become aggressive. But he can easily be controlled when I just hug him and just kiss him and tell that you should not be like that. You should not act like that, and he cools down. So what I have my experience is that such children can easily be, being the sole caretaker, caregiver, such children, they can easily be managed by immense love, wholehearted acceptance, and immense pressure, patience, immense patience. If you have patience, means you have to, he will become aggressive sometime, he will sometime become very cool, he will not sometime respond to you. You have to ask him 100 times a question. And just that you have to be patient. If you patiently love him, and if you accept him, means accept them, they will become very close to you, and then it becomes very easy to manage them. Not only easy, you can develop their skill, the skill that is hidden in them. Like for me, my son, he can sing very well. He does not know how to read, but he can learn each and every tune of Rabindra Sangeet. I being Bengali, means Rabindra Sangeet is heart and soul to him. He learns by seeing TV only. I just have to clear the pronunciation. And for that, when he cannot clear the pronunciation, he sometimes becomes angry that he is not being able to do it. But when I just say, no, you will do, you can do, you just do, I will try for you, 100 times I will say you, he becomes cool. So that's my experience being the mother of autistic child. Actually, we are the mothers of special needs. They are called children with special needs. And here we are also mothers with special needs. Like what we need to know more. We need to do more, and we need to be more patient to take out the best from them. So what Jai Talukdar has told, legislature, something has to be changed in India. In India, these children, they are not acceptable. I am telling. I am not telling about Agartala, Tripura. Even in Bangalore, even in Delhi, even in Calcutta, they are not still fully acceptable by the society. If they would have been acceptable by the society, then there would have been equally infrastructured schools for them. Is there any school for them? Government school? I mean, it's very few, I think. My son also goes to a NGO run school, but I'm not satisfied with the infrastructure there, because I have told they are specially able, they are differently able. It's just that we cannot bring out the ability from them. It's our fault. Somewhere we cannot bring out the ability from them. So what Joy has told is really nice. something should be made in legislature. They know they have the right to survive. Whenever I go, I have met many people. I am trying for many years that at least one daycare and rehabilitation center should be set up at Agartala for this child, because when I go to, like in this pandemic period, the school is closed, the NGO run school that he used to go. I have to lock and key him at home, and I have to go for my duties. I have to go. I just, before going, I just say him, I just kiss him, I just give him more love and tell Baba, Mama has to go, no, Mama has to go to service. You just keep on going to TV, Mama will come in between, and Mama will look after you. And he just, he is okay. Means he has not, by God's grace, he has not done anything nuisance in the room. Means he is busy with TV only. He went on seeing TV. But this should not be. There should be at least one government-run rehabilitation care center along with rehabilitation center for them. And that will be possible only when society will learn to accept that fully. That's my experience. Actually, you can say depression, by God's grace, depression has not yet caught me. But one thing what worries me now, because I am becoming old, my son is becoming older, that what after me? What after me? What will happen to him after I leave the world? Who will look after him? That's the anxiety. What Madam has also told. Anxiety. That anxiety is coming to me again and again. I again manages myself. Actually, I do a lot of meditation. I believe in God. I always take him that he is a special gift to me by God. God has given me this special gift. I have to serve him. Maybe कुछ अभी तो कुछ बहुत कुछ दिन में आता है कि maybe I was in debt to him in my previous life, so I have to serve him. But that anxiety often now engulfs me. That what after me. But anyway, I just when I feel very depressed, when I feel very anxiety engulfs me, I just tell my son one day, Baba, Papa, sing one Rabindra Sangeet for me. And when he sings the song, I was relaxed. I feel so relaxed that I think no social party can give me that much of relaxation. And that's what I also tell other mothers also. Other mothers get frustrated in the school where he used to read. Other mothers, they are often seen to be very frustrated, very depressed. I always tell them, no, don't get frustrated, don't get depressed. Because if you get frustrated, you get depressed, your son will suffer more. Your son, you will not be able to get the best from your son. That's my anxiety. That's what I'm sharing with you all. Whoever I find, I always ask, what after me? What after me? Anyway, for that thinking, for for that anxiety, actually, it's not that I have stopped training him. Anyway, I am training, giving him full trainings and all, and I spend, you can say, spend my whole time with him only. And वो पागल की what you told, that पागल की doctor, that's I have to hear from my family also, that you are responsible. Even my very close and dear ones from the family tell you are responsible, because I have got, my brother was suffering from schizophrenia. I have got a family history of schizophrenia. So I have to hear that also, that it is because you that my child, the child was born autistic. But I give deaf ear to them. I'm saying, I give deaf ear. What people say, I don't care. I'm just happy. I'm very happy with my child. That's all for today. And I just want to give you a big thanks. I don't know how to express my thanks, especially to Lizaba, Actually, Lisa was my senior. Lisa Pathak, Dr. Lisa Pathak was my senior in RDC. We studied in the same college. And when Lisa they told me, Anita, I just want you to be in my platform. I told, fine. And it's more fine that you told me ahead, because all of a sudden, if you would have told me, then I would not have been able to join you, because I have got a very scheduled and hectic routine. Scheduled routine for my child. This after this after this is according to time, no? Because I have to maintain the duty as a doctor, and I have to maintain my son's duty also. So anyway, thanks a lot, and I'm really Joy Talukdar and Madam Punia Madam. I was means I cannot express how I felt. Means see, especially Joy Talukdar sir, his personal experiences. I am really thankful to him that he has shared everything with him, and to Punia Madam for her valuable knowledge she has imparted to us. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anita Das. I think we need to clap, and this is really, really fantastic. I mean, really fantastic. This is absolutely, I mean, you have highlighted, I mean, the duty of a doctor, especially during COVID, and managing a special child. I'm really using the word special because, you know, these kinds of, I mean, you know, and then being blamed for it also, and I can understand. I mean, and that is what we have been talking about, that, you know, there has to be some mechanism for this thing, and please don't worry, please don't be anxious. I mean, there will be solutions for your child. See, I want to share something, please don't take it otherwise. We had a very senior officer in the administrative service, and she had a daughter who was special, and her only, I mean, she used to take a lot of care. This lady went very, very high up in the organization, in wherever she was, and very, very high up, ended up becoming chairman of UPSC, which does recruitment for civil servants in India. And she had only one thing to say, that I only hope that my daughter is not around, once I am no more. And her husband was also very dedicated, but this one was very, very dedicated. Every 2 hours she would be running home. And despite the fact that she went and she had all the top postings in the government of India, every top posting, additional secretary in this DOPT, this, that, every damn thing she had. And became a secretary, went on to become member of UPSC, chairman UPSC. So you will not believe what happened. She passed away, and 1 week before her passing away, her daughter also passed away. And this lady was suffering from minor health ailments, nothing very serious, but it is just God's way of doing things. And so you do not have to worry. There will be some mechanisms, there will be this thing. I mean, so you are doing your best, and more power to you, ma'am. In this context, I want to just share two things. There was, you mentioned Pagalon ka doctor, Dr. Talukdar mentioned, we had Dr. Sagar coming in earlier, very, very renowned doctor from AIMS, Professor Rajesh Sagar. So he says, Pagalon ka doctor bolte wo zindagi nikal gayi, hai na? And forget you, I mean, even psychiatrists are called Pagalon ka doctor. I still remember I had gone to visit a friend of mine. Now listen to this story, please, because it's very, very inspiring. This man, he was in the army. He normally in Kargil, in Ladakh, they send you only once, and that too for 3 months, because human body cannot take 18,000 feet, 20,000 feet for more than 3 months. This man volunteered. लोग बाकी ट्रांसफर कराने के लिए फोन कराते हैं एमओडी से, यहाँ से वहां से. ये बंदा मांग के गया दूसरी बार, एंड दूसरी बार गया तो उसको 1999 में बुलेट लगा इन द नी, and he was disabled. He spent 1 year in Chandigarh, in Chandi Mandir, in the army hospital, in getting recovery. And he knew that अब आर्मी में ज़्यादा कुछ होगा नहीं, मेजर से मैं लेफ्टिनेंट कर्नल बन जाऊंगा, उससे ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं होगा, and that's what happens, low medical category. So he reinvented himself, friends, and he did masters in psychology. He did PhD from Punjab University, and he became an Indian Army's only trained psychologist. In Indian Army. This person's name is Lieutenant Colonel Samir Rawat, and he has now written 7 books on this PTSD and what it is to be surviving depression, and because he was very depressed. And when I went to meet him, I said, "यार वो कौन सा ward है, कहाँ है?" He said, "किसी को भी बोल देना, शुदाइयों दा ward." He was not in the psychiatric ward. His ward was next to the psychiatry ward, and in in the army hospital, it was next to the Shudai ward, which means the psychiatry ward. Shudai in Punjabi means mad. So mad, psychiatry is often associated with mad. Pagal ka doctor is a very common phrase. And so these are some two books which I thought I would show to people. I don't know if my camera is good enough. So this is called Feeling Good Together. This is actually this is written by a famous American doctor called David Burns. And it basically is intended for people who have troubled relationships, not just troubled marriages, any kind of troubled relationships, because the one or both persons are suffering from some mental disorder. And I found it to be an excellent book, and I strongly recommend to people who are interested. The other one is by one of our future speakers. I think next time Archana ma'am has invited her, senior civil servant called Shubhabrata Prakash, and it is called the D word. इसके बारे में कोई बात नहीं करता. So she calls it the survivor's guide to depression. It is called the D word. Survivor. देखिए दोनों किताबों में मुझे एक पैसा नहीं मिल रहा प्रमोट करने के लिए. ठीक है, कोई कमीशन नहीं दे रहा मुझे, ना तो इन्होंने समीर रावत जी ने मुझे कुछ दिया, तो बल्कि मेरे से खा ही लेते हैं. ठीक है ना. सो बट ही इज लिटरली रीइन्वेंटेड हिमसेल्फ, एंड इज अबाउट 45-48, and he's now written all these books and everything, 7 of them available on Amazon. And so this is how, and people like Dr. Lisa, people like Dr. Das, and of course I feel like calling Archana Verma madam also Dr. Archana Verma now, because every silly fellow nowadays gets an honorary doctorate, and it's not difficult for ma'am to get one. But the kind of work she has done in the area of mental health and in other areas during Corona epidemic, helping people go home, etc., through this Corona initiative of hers. And so I think, the need of the hour is to be more empathetic, and all of us, believe me, it's not that only government can do. All of us in our ways can work. So for example, I am a part of a mental health task force, CMHI as it is called, and so there's a collection of senior psychiatrists and psychologists and psychotherapists. Ma'am, I'll just take 1 minute. Perfect.
I also wanted to introduce this book.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
It's a lovely book. Please read it, all of you. It's a lovely book.
So so like I was saying, ma'am, so we also discuss these kind of things, and this under the Central New Mental Health Act, this authority has the same powers as SC/ST Commission. Except that it's not a constitutional body; it's a statutory body. And whenever there is discrimination of people on grounds that they are sufferers of mental health anywhere, in the workplace, private, government, everywhere, we have the power to issue notices. And that is why they need people with law. That is why I am there. I have no medical knowledge. Okay. So they need people with law background, law this thing. So that's why, and we were meeting every month, every 2 months till 12th of March. After that, we are now meeting online. And before that, we were meeting in a small little committee room in AIMS. Now we meet online on Google Meet. But we do meet, and we do every time. And trust me, we have taken people to task. Okay. So these are the certain things. And yes, I would now, ma'am, if there are any interjections, I have lots of questions. So I think we will go one by one with the questions. I know we have slightly overshot our time, but I think it's only fair to the participants, because there has been a lot of questions. So if I'll just try and be quick, and we will try to take those questions directed at all of the participants. People want to know stuff from Dr. Punia, Dr. Das, Mr. Talukdar. I think I will start off with Dr. Punia first. There is one question from Supreet ma'am. It says, does SAD affect sugar craving? I think this is because you mentioned about certain foods, and I'll link it up with Lisa ma'am's question to you, Dr. Punia. Nutritional supplements like iron, folates, and vitamin D, do they enhance or do they help improve or do they affect the chemical balance? If you would like to talk about either of these two. डॉक्टर पूनिया या
बिफोर आई गो ऑन टू इट, जो कि बहुत ही मेंशन्ड वर्ड है, मिस्टर जॉय ने भी बोला, मैडम अनीता ने भी बोला कि सब कहते हैं पागलों का डॉक्टर. पहली बात, मैं ही वो पागलों का डॉक्टर हूँ, मेटाफोरिकली स्पीकिंग, बिकॉज आई एम अ साइकोलॉजिस्ट. लेकिन there's another way I have seen. I have been in this field for I don't know how long. I've been in the field since 2006. So मैंने इसको एक अलग तरीके से देखा. पागल कौन होता है? पागल वो होता है जो सोसाइटी की एक्सपेक्टेशंस पे खरा नहीं उतरता. और ये सोसाइटी आप लोगों की है ही नहीं, जो आपको समझ ही नहीं सकती है. वो आपकी सोसाइटी कैसे, तो वो क्या कहती है क्या नहीं कहती है, इट इज इनकॉन्सिक्वेंशियल. आप लोगों को ये कहा जाता है पागलों के डॉक्टर के पास जा रहे हो. मैं कॉलेज में पढ़ाती हूँ तो बच्चे ये कहते हैं ये कौन सा सब्जेक्ट पढ़ाती, कहते हैं वो पागलों वाला. तो आई बिकम सो यूज्ड टू इट कि अब ना वो रजिस्टर ही नहीं करता है. इट डजंट रजिस्टर एनीमोर. बट दैट वाज लाइक मोर ऑन द लाइटर साइड. एंड लाइक डॉक्टर सिरोही, यू आस्क्ड, yes, of course, sugar craving is directly related. Like I said, SAD में, whenever you are afflicted by SAD, you want more carbs. Okay, and the moment sugar goes in, it gives you instant energy. That is why सर्दियों में मीठा खाने की craving होती है. It's completely directly linked, लेकिन ये हमारी बॉडी की जनरल रिक्वायरमेंट्स भी होती है. So not everybody जिसको शुगर क्रेविंग है उसको SAD है. You have to understand, our taste changes. अब जैसे साल में 2 बार नवरात्रे आते हैं. You are asked to fast for 9 days because the body is adjusting itself from one season to the other. That is why you are expected to eat light, so that body का transition आसान हो सके, right? So chemical changes सभी में हो रहे हैं. शुगर की requirement भी होती है, इच्छा भी होती है. But yes, of course, people who are afflicted by SAD tend to crave carbs, tend to crave sugar, and carbs invariably break it down into glucose, right? More sugar, more energy. That is what they're craving because they feel they lack it, right? And like Lisa ma'am asked, do supplements help? See, supplements help in a generalized immunity. If your immunity is good, you are in that happy frame of mind. And but of course direct link नहीं है, because जो chemicals हैं, the chemicals which are related to all sorts of say mental health issues, they are very different kind of chemicals. So no nutritional supplement can actually work to balance them, but it overall improves your general health. तो अगर उस केस में देखें तो हाँ, of course it makes you feel better, you feel healthier. It's all about what you feel here. Right? लेकिन इन चीजों से they are very different from in my first session. That is what I said कि when we are talking about medication for mental health, हम दो चीज की बात कर रहे हैं. एक जो आपका बॉडी नेचुरली प्रोड्यूस नहीं कर रहा है उसको हेल्प करता है. जब तक बॉडी नहीं प्रोड्यूस करता उसकी कमी पूरी करता है. एंड इट ऑल्सो हेल्प्स द बॉडी टू प्रोड्यूस नेचुरल थिंग्स ऑन इट्स ओन. तो वो सप्लीमेंट से बिल्कुल डिफरेंट है. बट ऑफकोर्स सप्लीमेंट्स ओवरऑल आपकी हेल्थ को हेल्प करते हैं, which kind of keeps you in a better frame of mind. You're more receptive. The healthier you are, the likely you are to be more receptive. अगर nutritional deficiency है and certain things like for example vitamin B12, which Indian women majorly lack because of our basic dietary habits, it is linked directly to depression. So अगर vitamin B12 की कमी है, mostly depressives में होती है. vitamin B12 होता है कम. So of course they help, yes, for your overall health. So yes, timely checkup is something we all recommend. Yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Punia. I'll just move on. If there are any further questions to Dr. Punia, we'll come back. Joy sir, there are some things coming your way apart from lots of compliments from the ladies. So I mean, I told you tall, dark and handsome, you're asking for it actually. You should not have mentioned that Kallu Bab actually, so kabhi ho jata hai aisa. So There are two questions. I'll try and link them up. How much, in your assessment, do you feel that others are responsible for depression? And you could talk from your own experience or otherwise also, because the wearer knows where the shoe pinches. And the secondly is, what was the reason that was what did your better half diagnose as the reason for the depression in the first place, so to say?
Okay. Uh, I'll come to the first question. When we talk about how far others are responsible in the depression is again it's very it's a relative question. Why I would say because if I'm feeling hot now because sometime I may have had experience what is cold. So it's a relative thing. Now the question is that how much I'm supposed to blame others. It would be like, again, I can put all the blame on others, like saying that, oh, my circumstances were bad, this and that. So I don't want to say, but going by what I told about my story, like what if my mom would have had taken to psychologist or a psychiatrist instead of a astrologer at an age of 10 when I was showing ADHD signs, when I had I would not sit with the book for a very very long time, when she identified that had she knew that this is what is going on with my son, and then instead of that, so in a way I would say, if I retrospectively think, she was responsible for that. And see, in mental health, I feel that one is linked to the other. It's somehow like we have different. Without going into the big the name of the disease, and I don't know how they diagnose it and things like that. Coming to the second half of it, how my wife diagnosed it and how she felt it. What I did say is these things, and what we're given. Now another thing, before you go for, now I will talk about it from the psychiatrist perspective, not from a psychologist perspective, how the medication actually treats you well. First and the foremost thing, it's just not a psychiatric medication that I'm talking about, how any medication for that matter. If this is a medication strip that you get from a doctor when you go for a cough and cold or anything, first thing what happens in your mind is that you have visited a doctor who took your blood pressure, who put the stethoscope on your chest, yeah, and prescribed some medication. You are taking that pill with the water, and in 2 days time and 3 days time you're fine. I believe that medicine has done 30%, 70% is your mind. I went to the doctor, I took the medicine, and I'm fine. I'm going to be fine. When you tell yourself that I'm going to be fine, fine. They are caregiver. Wait. To me, and I just I did not something you leave their children, their wards to the school. Draft. They have to by them with my where he you know, he has an expertise in the peers in the peer, he gets a transfer. So like he has earned a good name in his professional thing, but he has earned a bad name from my mom, because my mom says that, oh, when the good time comes to settle down in a site, you have been transferred. Why? Because his expertise is required at the time when it is most needed. So anyway, that is what so I honestly cannot say that this is whom I hold responsible, how much others contribute to my depression, because I own that. I mean, what if I was more strong enough to defeat it? I defeated it. Like, I when did I become emotional? I did not. Loss of my first wife, no. That was a bad marriage, altogether bad marriage. I felt it from the day one. But that was my daughter. 2.5 years, he would come, Papa, every time he's looking for me. That's my daughter. And that's something I could not. I just like, I could not cry. All I had to do is to like do my job, which is going to the court, attend my clients, come back, and I was all myself in the flat. It's like, which I'm not supposed to, which I would not say in normal circumstances. People just would keep the phone down and say that, oh, you talk so much. I've been complaining. So how can I say others were responsible for my depression? Because I was clearly depressed. But how my wife caught it when I said all these words, I would just go out after having taken few drinks on board. I would just go out, go to the nearest pawn shop, which is a big one, and I'll just stand there, talk, or maybe he'll just offer me a chair because he knows that I'm a lawyer and all that. हाँ साहब बोलिए कैसा चल रहा है ये वो. He'll offer me a drink as well, a cold drink or something. I'll sit there, talk for hours, because I need someone to talk to. Someone who can just talk where his customers are coming. And that's how I will probably spend a little evening and come back, have a little food, go for my next day. So I cannot blame anyone as such. But my circumstances had led me to this depression. And this was the last straw in the thing that I couldn't actually, take it anymore. Like, the separation of my little daughter. And then I tried because she was put into a preschool kind of a thing, a kindy thing. So I used to be there waiting for her when she would board the bus, and because there is a little time because the kids come out, and she's just 3.5 years, and you can imagine and then those kind of things. But it again put me into more saddening thing. It's just a 15 minutes of meeting together, and then we part away. So all this had baffled me a lot. But again, all these little things that I just said to you, or just I've shared in the forums, is the exact things that I've told my wife, Mithali, and she just had to diagnose it. She just had to say that, you just need to do this. And she she didn't actually take any time, and then there was few things, and then she also said that there is a in Australia there are a lot of other things, like you can't treat your own people and all that. So she did refer to someone from her aims, a friend of her who was practicing in Calcutta, the gentleman who was based in Calcutta. So I went to see Dr. Ghosh, and then he was there. I just, of course, he prescribed the same things, which he had a kind of a pre-briefing and all that. And then I gradually started, initially I still had, so being alcoholic, it is so, this is a bad thing. Like, this, like, you just can't leave it. I still remember, like, I must say, Archana would always be there. I had one elder brother, none but Archana's husband, Amitabh Shrivastava. He is like more than not a friend, but an elder brother. Like I remember, like there were some tough times, in initial days of my practice back in Guwahati High Court. I would sometimes, like frustrated out of my not having sufficient income from my initial days at Guwahati High Court. I would sometimes drink. I probably drink a problem I had. I already nurtured it, and later on, there are so many books and everything that I read is that, if you're an alcoholic, 60% is your genes which is responsible. So either your parents or someone must have been drinking. Your dad, your grandfather, your uncle, someone must be drinking. So he gave me a very good piece of advice as an elder brother, saying that, hey, you should stop drinking. Tum daru pina band karo. Anyway. So the question is quite good, but the answer is very simple. Like one shouldn't be. It was easy for her to kind of diagnose, and then I was into medication immediately, and I came out of it successfully. Yes, today I'm before you all, and that's a survivor story of me.
Fantastic. Joy sir, thank you very much. I mean, such candor and such. You see, we've had 3 survivor stories, and this initiative has been taken by Archana ma'am. We've not thought about this aspect. So we've had Dr. Bikramji day before you. We've had Dr. Lisa Pathak, and I think each story has been very unique, and it gives an insight into what goes on in people's minds, what causes it. It is what we call in law the case study method. So you understand the law better when you read it through the case.
Yes.
So, yes. I mean no disrespect when I say case. And right. It just gives you a live example, and then you're able to collate. And that's how people can relate to it. So that's, and believe me, the kind of, traction that this movement is getting, I don't mean to be patting my own back, but 2,000 plus, and we've spent no money on promotion, right? I mean, it's all on 2,000 people have joined so far. Please see the YouTube channel sometime if you have the time. I mean, there are every day I go and check, there are about 100 new views, and so I think that's quite a bit, and so if we are able to help to remove the stigma and build awareness, I think we've done our job. And full marks once again, salute to Dr. Anita Das, because when Dr. Pathak told me that she has the time constraints, etc., I said no, you can ask her to join exactly at this time also, that is fine. I mean, so that we don't want to take her away from the child for a prolonged period of time, because all of us during COVID have learned to multitask, but maybe she cannot multitask because the child needs full-time attention. So those are certain challenges. So I think with these words, I think we've basically culminated everything. If Archana ma'am, you would like to, say something about this program in particular and introduce about the next program, and then I think we should be ready to wind up, unless anybody else has any more interjections.
No, I think that this was one of our best sessions.
Absolutely.
All 3 speakers were wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
Hats off to you, Joy. I didn't know you had so much hidden. I wish I had known earlier. But I don't know, Joy. I personally feel that, maybe my experience, that I had no issues from people, It is basically a chemical imbalance which was inside me. It was triggered because I had a false FIR lodged by our dear friend, I will not name. But it was basically imbalance of serotonin. Because
Okay.
you see, there were other 4 people against whom also FIR was lodged. They were like completely all right with it. And I sank into depression. So I feel that, we heal more if we don't externalize our uh, depression. If we really, you will heal more if you can forgive your mother. Because I think in retrospect, she too may have suffered from
Yes,
depression.
yes, indeed. That's what I acknowledge that. Yes, she did. And I did
Yeah,
acknowledge the
you
fact that.
acknowledged in passing, but I still feel that you're holding on to the hurt. So, it's very, because I also felt so much anger for this lady who lodged that false FIR against me, and for that judge, and for the politician. But gradually I understood that unless I forgive them, unless I move on, I am
Unless you
only
move
harming
on.
myself. So when I've come back, I could have, lodged counter cases and, tried to harass them back once I won the case in the court. But that hurt had to go for you to really heal.
True, true.
That is one thing that my depression has taught me, that it's they can, external factors can only be triggers, but it is your own genes or something inside you which triggers of depression, which doesn't happen to other people.
Okay.
And to Dr. Anita, I am really so touched, I mean, really, I have seen my husband sometimes getting exasperated because of my depression, and I don't blame him. And I can understand that caregivers go through so much. My mother, sometimes when she becomes very depressed, and she comes home, and I sometimes find it very difficult managing house, then coming back and then caregiving my mom. But we draw inspiration from people like you, that you just turned the logic on its head, and you said that these are the people who need our love, and we need to have better care in society for them, because we actually mental caregiving is very, very difficult. I fully understand, because I've been a caregiver and also a caretaker, so I get both the perspectives, and it's difficult for a person to deal with a person who's always depressed. So the way you have handled it, and with so much love remaining, like I always used to feel that if I continue with my depression, तो husband छोड़ के भाग जाएगा. Because मतलब हर समय I didn't I had almost I was manipulating him कि तुम घर ही छोड़ के मत जाओ, ऑफिस मत जाओ, यहीं पे रहो. So if I continued, he would have, he would not have run away, because he's very sweet. But
अभी work from home आ गया मैम. अभी work from home is there now.
But I marvel at, or even my mother, when she gets very depressed, sometimes, I just shut myself off and just listen to her without getting emotionally attached to her pain. So for you to, still have that love, because let me be very honest, sometimes, love also starts to decline if a person is always depressed. Or at least, even if love doesn't decline, you start to avoid that person. But the way you have handled, and the way you have, loved her, loved your son and your anxiety, I'm sure something good will happen. I have that faith, and faith has given me a lot of, healing capacities. So something good will happen. You just live in the moment. And Dr. Anupriya, Punia का तो कुछ कहना ही नहीं है. She was as fantastic as ever, and now so she's looking very cool also. I love your new hairdo and all. So I
Thank you
guess,
for all lockdown experimentations, no?
It makes her look as if she has lost weight. So
yeah, she's done something.
Some gain, Dr. Sirohi, some lose, balance.
some gain, हाँ, बस balance होता है दुनिया में. हाँ?
And now we are all competing. Joy and I are competing for Sanju Bhaiya and Vikram. Sanju Bhaiya, who will be the
Madam.
star of your film?
Ma'am, I think Dr. Das is also wanting to say something.
Yes,
One
Dr.
thing I just want to tell, madam, acceptance. If you accept, no, means what I think, if you accept mental illness, that no, only acceptance is the thing that gives, after that you can give love. If you don't accept, I always think that if God would have given me more worse things than this, what would I have done? What would I have done? I have nothing to do, na. So better to accept what God has given me. And when I accepted Him, I just, my bondage, my love, my emotional bonding with Him increased, and that's why. Means it's not, if you don't accept, no, that's because I am depressed, you don't accept me, then you cannot love me. You have to accept me, that no, yeah, you know, maybe see, we are, I think every person is having some mental illness. All of us are not normal. I don't think so. I have something, mental illness, like I sometimes become angry with my husband also, you know, because especially when if he neglects my son, I become angry. So that is my mental illness. But if my husband cannot accept it, then he cannot love me. That's similar way. My son is mentally retarded. He is suffering from ADHD, everything, that. But if I don't accept him, then how can I love him? So
That's a wonderful thing you said, Dr. Anita, that, we should not try to straitjacket people. We always feel that, a society or human being should behave in a particular kind of way. Only then they can be loved. That is so true what you said. What you said is so unique and wonderful that, there are all kinds of people and we are all mentally ill or different. So acceptance is the key. So over to you, Parikshet.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So, I will just like to end. Next time we're going to have on the 10th of January, our next session, we're going to have some very interesting presenters there. Again, we would want Mr. Lal with his film story ideas to join us again.
Oh, and yes, we have Shubrata only. We have Shubrata.
Yes, that's right. So she'll be here, Madam Shubrata Prakash. And there will be a lot of material which Mr. Lal can get, and maybe I'm again requesting, if no one else is requesting, at least me and Tulika ma'am, maybe some side role we are willing to do. I'm willing to do.
No, I want the main role.
You can certainly get, ma'am. You're the most awesome, so that's perfectly okay. And so yes, and I would just like to say one thing, because many people have faced this, I know, and that is with the reason for causing problems. Mr. Talukdar has spoken about it, bullying, that Kallu thing. I would just like to, somebody used to call a friend of mine India in California. He was an ace football player. Hey, India, pass the ball, man. So, and he didn't like it, and because they couldn't pronounce his name Ankit. Right, so call him India. Now this fellow was very, very dark, and they didn't know Kallu. So they said recently in football, both the teams have walked out because the referee says that that nigger, that one touched it, right? That nigger touched it. So they point it out like that. So of course that is not a good word to use in public. So that is why they started using India, right? And I would just like to say, because about things like these slurs, so, I mean, even Bollywood has more sense than us. And we call ourselves educated. Even Bollywood says, "Hum kaale hain to kya hua, dil wale hain, tere chahne wale hain." Even Bollywood says, "Gore rang pe na itna to guman kar, gora rang 2 din mein dhal jaye." So let us overcome these kind of prejudices. And believe me, there is no distributor. Ma'am Anita has just talked about normal. Normal कुछ नहीं होता है. जिस लोगों ने फिजिक्स पढ़ी होगी, वो नॉर्मल केवल एक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन होता है. उस डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन के थोड़ा सा आप इधर उधर चले गए तो आप नॉर्मल नहीं है. इंडिया में आप रोड में एक साइड पे गाड़ी चलाते हैं, अमेरिका में दूसरे साइड पे चढ़ाते हैं. तो विच वन इज नॉर्मल? ड्राइविंग ऑन द लेफ्ट साइड ऑफ द रोड इज नॉर्मल, और ड्राइविंग ऑन द राइट साइड इज नॉर्मल. मैं तो कहता हूँ बाकी सारे अब नॉर्मल है. Right? We are the only ones who are normal, because the sensitivity which people have, and Archana ma'am is saying that why can't the other 5 did not have problems, why I only had problems, FIR was lodged against 4 other persons, why I. The point is very simple. Those people are not as intelligent. Those people are not as sensitive. ये सारी problems. I am not an expert in any of this. Dr. Punia is the expert. Dr. Sagar is the expert. But इतना तो मुझे भी समझ में आता है. ये problems उन लोगों की होती हैं जो ज़्यादा intelligent होते हैं, ज़्यादा sensitive होते हैं. So, and these are people who are thinkers. These are people who are artists. These are people who are policy framers. Right. So on that note, I think we will adjourn today. Thank you very much for being part of this session, and we look forward to seeing all of you on the 10th of January.
10th of January, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Thanks,
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Good night. Good night from
Thanks.
Australia.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Namaste.